Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reaper the Spoils. I'm Mark Sullivan.
I got it. I'm Delaila Lugo.
And I'm Jason Kwasnicki.
I missed my opportunity to make that joke in the episode for the first game of the series, and I wasn't going to miss that opportunity again. So I know you, the audience, are so happy that I made that horrible, horrible pun. Reap the Spoils, or Reaper the Spoils, is a monthly spoiler cast where we play a game and we come back to this show and we talk to each other about that game and we spoil it. Spoiler alert, we spoil the game. If you have not played the game that we're talking about, which is the title of the episode, and we'll tell you in a moment what that game is. If you have not played it, go pause the episode, go play the game, then come back, press play, and listen to us yap.
You haven't played Mass Effect 2. Are you even a gamer?
Oh, I
Come
guess.
on.
Okay, Jason, what fucking game are we talking about today? It's Mass Effect 2. Okay.
Just kidding.
No, he's not. It is Mass Effect 2.
No, I meant you're not even a gamer. I wouldn't question. Hey man, it was 2011. A lot of shit was coming out.
2010.
Or 2010. Sorry,
a lot of shit still was coming out around that time. I feel
everybody was playing Halo. Yeah, that was the era of Halo 3. Still, that was when it was at its apex. That was like early 360.
When did Reach come out? I think Reach came out.
Was it Reach?
In 2010. Yeah, because 3 came out in 2007. I think Reach was 2010, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about Halo, although maybe someday that could be a fun discussion. But today we're talking about Mass Effect 2, BioWare's long-awaited sequel and much anticipated by the gaming community to the original Mass Effect, which we talked about, I think, in January. So, if you haven't played Mass Effect, go play Mass Effect and listen to our episode on that, and then come back and we'll play Mass Effect 2 and then come back and listen to our episode here on Mass Effect 2. All right. Shall we is there anything else that I usually bring up at the beginning of the show, or do we just get right into the history lesson?
I think we
Let's do the history lesson.
Yeah, let's get to the history lesson. All right.
Blow the dust off these books. Almost a decade old.
These ancient
tale.
tomes.
Yeah.
These dusty old things. All right. Mass Effect 2 history lesson is, keep it brief. It was directed by Casey Hudson. Once again, Casey Hudson taking the helm. He was also the director of Mass Effect 1. And it was written by not only Drew Karpyshyn, but also Mac Walters this time. Drew Karpyshyn, we talked about, was the writer on the first game and also wrote a few of the Mass Effect novels, which since we talked about the first game and those novels, I have not read them. So, yeah. I hear they're pretty cool, pretty good supplemental materials. If you really like Mass Effect, I hear that they're worth a read. Maybe one day I'll get to that.
Right.
Same with the comic series. I hear the comic series is pretty cool too. Yeah.
Nice.
They also write their own like indie sci-fi novels as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like before and since.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, Mass Effect 2 was released on January 26th, 2010 for the Xbox 360 and PC. It came out a year later for the PlayStation 3 on January 18th, 2011. And then, of course, we got the Legendary Edition on May 14th, 2021, almost or just over a year ago, which is the version that I think all of us just played for this show.
Yes.
But I don't think Mass Effect 2 had as many drastic changes from its original iteration as Mass Effect 1 did. So those should be much closer and much more one-to-one with each other than Mass Effect 1 was.
Yeah, from my understanding, Mass Effect 2 and 3 on that collection were basically just graphical overalls with minor balancing and very, very minimal changes were made to gameplay.
Right. One definitely needed more work than 2 or 3 did. So yeah, that's our history lesson. I like to keep it brief, short. Also, an interesting thing about the PS3 version, since this was the first one to come out on PS3, they didn't get one initially. There was a DLC called Genesis, which is still in this version of the game, and even if you played Mass Effect 1, you could still view it just to see your decisions, kind of placed into a graphic novel, and it was a way for PS3 players to make the decisions in Mass Effect 1 that would then carry into their Mass Effect 2 save.
It's cool. I think it's an awesome way of doing it, much better than, not to castigate the game because I think it's great, but in The Witcher 3 you get asked these, like, in the beginning of the game, these really awkward expositional questions by characters in the game to kind of decide what you did in the other Witcher games. It's weird.
Okay. That's
So
kind
the
of weird.
originals didn't have that import feature, right? I guess they couldn't.
Well, no,
Yeah.
they did. Oh,
Oh,
wait, we're talking about Mass Effect, right?
yeah.
No, they did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just for the PS3 version, since since Mass Effect 1 didn't exist when
Right.
Mass Effect 2
It,
came
it
out
was
on
an
PS3.
exclusive to Xbox, yeah, or
Okay.
360, yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they put out that Genesis DLC so that the PS3 players starting Mass Effect 2 could like insert those decisions that would then permeate in some of the plot points of Mass Effect 2. And then obviously eventually Mass Effect 1 did come to PS3 with the
Yeah.
trilogy set. So they could play them and then import the save forward. But like the Genesis like a visual or digital graphic novel decision maker kind of thing was just a neat way of getting around it and also stylistically doing it. Sorry, I'm trying to kill a gnat.
Did you get one?
No.
Damn.
I'm not having any luck.
It is entertaining for us who can see the video feed of it, though.
Okay, so yeah, are we ready to just get into Mass Effect 2?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. I don't want to start with the ending immediately. I actually want to start with the opening because this really took me by surprise. I didn't expect Shepard to just up and die within the first 10 minutes of the game.
Right?
It's a really cool opening, yeah.
It was pretty cool. Like it was pretty cool. Like suddenly there's this mysterious ship while they're flying around trying to take out any additional Geth, and some mysterious ship just shows up and blows up the fucking Normandy.
It's
And
also a
like,
really smart way because if you remember, in Mass Effect 1, the only stuff you really get about Cerberus is that you're going around fucking killing these terrorists. And
yeah.
it's a really clever way of basically putting Shepard on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was weird because I knew I remembered Cerberus from the first game, but I couldn't quite place how. So shout out to my buddy Alex, Mass
Mhm.
Effect guru. He's been asking me to play these games forever. He listened to the show. Love you, buddy. Yeah, I had to ask him. I had to text him and be like, yeah, who the fuck is Cerberus again? I don't fucking remember.
Yeah, I remember them just being
It's Martin
perceived as like
Sheen.
bad guys.
It's Martin Sheen, man.
Wait, is Martin Sheen the elusive man?
Yeah.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't realize that. Wait, hold on. We're looking this up on the spot. I don't believe you. I do believe you, but I need visual confirmation. I need to look at Martin Sheen. Oh man. That does kind of look like the elusive man. Video games, look at that. It's the elusive man, Martin Sheen. That's fucking crazy. How did I go through that whole game without realizing that's Martin Sheen? That man is 81 years old now. Can you believe that? All right, anyway.
He also looks just like a generic dude. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he's
A
like
generic business dude.
yeah, he's just yeah, he does kind of look like a generic business white dude, but like
It's funny you say
it
that
does
when
look
like
like his face a little bit.
it's
Martin
funny you
Sheen.
say that when in the movie Wall Street, his whole role as a father is like telling his son not to get into business and like stocks and stuff.
Don't do it.
He's also in Apocalypse Now, who fucking
Yeah.
the soldier.
But yeah, you're right, Jason. It was a cool way. Like there was a lot of whiplash in that opening, right? Like suddenly, like within the first 10 minutes, Shepard dies, and then moments later, he's brought back by Cerberus, this kind of antagonistic force. Not even like in the main plot, but pretty much all relegated to side quests in the first game.
Yeah.
So it's like if you didn't do side content,
You would have no
wouldn't-
idea who the fuck Cerberus is.
Right, which I think is why I was like, wait a second, like I know Cerberus, but why do I know Cerberus?
Mhm.
And I needed that reminder, and I'm like, really? This is now a part of the main plot? That's really interesting. It's a really bold choice. And then yeah, like getting reacclimated to just like the gameplay and stuff in that opening section, and like on the Cerberus ship was fine. Getting introduced to some of the characters, Jacob and Miranda, namely, was pretty cool. But I just wanted to bring up Shepard dying within the first 10 minutes was like not what I expected
Yeah, it's
at
great.
all.
So
Yeah.
good.
It's also just the scene on its own is just also very well done in terms of the tension, using Joker as kind of that linchpin, because he's kind of that he's almost like a Chewbacca character, except he actually has a. You understand what I'm saying, though. He actually has a voice. You can understand what he's saying, and he has
Are you
a
fucking saying
discernible. A
Chewbacca
discernible.
doesn't have a voice?
No, I'm saying you have no idea. You have no idea what he's saying. You only get reactions through Han Solo.
Yeah,
What
no,
I'm
that's
saying
fair.
is, but at any point during the game, you can go and talk with Joker, and he's fucking Seth Green. He's got a personality, and and having that character that you already have if you played the first game, that is, have a tangible relationship to.
Speaking of which, can we have a moment of silence for Seth Green's Bored Ape NFTs getting stolen? Never mind. I don't want to have a moment of silence. Fuck that shit. I just want to bring it up because I find it absolutely hilarious. Anyway,
I didn't even know.
carry on, Jason.
No, all I was saying was they did a good job of having that tension build up where, and obviously Joker can't walk, or he walks very
He
poorly.
has to be very careful.
Yeah.
He's got like avian bone syndrome. I don't
Right.
actually remember what his condition is.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But basically, flying is like his main form of movement, which is why he's a pilot.
Yeah.
That's how he travels the best.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we can talk about Joker briefly. Like, I guess they didn't really need to. Well, no, we'll table Joker for now because there is something later in the game that I do want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that took me by surprise. But let's talk about now. Speaking of Whiplash, let's go from the opening of the game to the final mission, suicide mission. Let's just talk that through real quick, just because before we get into the individual characters, because that's really where the meat of this game lies. Who wound up? How did the suicide mission go for you? Who wound up dying? How did it function narratively? Because this game does a really interesting thing where you know the end goal within the first few hours. Like, you know what the final mission is going to be, who the final enemy is going to be, and the whole game is spent building a team to go and do that final mission. And I find that to be so interesting narratively, because it kind of makes it so that you get what you get out of the game based on what you decide to go do.
Yeah,
There's so much content that you could just not do.
I agree with that, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because it kind of makes the main story missions a little lamer than everything else.
It depends on what you classify a main story mission, because to me, I mean, you have to recruit all the people, or all the crewmates. Like, you have to do that, right? You can't skip those, or at least not all of them. Like, you have to do the vast majority of them. It's the loyalty missions that you don't have to do.
Yeah,
but like those are the best part of the game. So like, why wouldn't you want to do that? And they're also under like the main mission part of your journal, so it's like the game, like, you don't have to do them, but the game is like, but you really should.
I guess the best way to describe it, it's almost like it's structured like a season of television, but an episodic season, and it makes sense. It's very much structured like an old season of Star Trek, where you might have an arc that goes throughout an entire season, but every episode is which I guess you could call it the loyalty missions or the recruiting missions, is its own self-contained story.
Yeah.
And has its own like lore to it that is relevant to it, depending on whatever faction or planet you're on, what have you. I just I feel like knowing the end game is, while it does allow for that awesome episodic storytelling on one hand, on the other hand, it somewhat diminishes that main plot compared to kind of the mystery you had in the first one, where you're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, but
it's not a huge thing, because ultimately I think it does better service the actual gameplay and the choices players make, like you said. as to how they want to play the game, how they want to invest in it, and which episodes they want to take on.
But I
Yeah.
also do. Go ahead, Delilah.
No, I was
Sorry.
just gonna say the reason why I actually like it is because I don't feel like, although the loyalty missions can seem like you said like a self-contained episode, I feel like with those characters that you're learning their story, you're still learning about like the bigger picture, and like all the world building is within the characters that you meet. That's
Right.
where you learn the most of it, or that's where you connect to it because you do have like data and stuff that you can read, but that's where you actually like absorb all of the lore and the world building. And although it has no impact at the end of the day at like the end game, like what you're gonna have to face anyway, I still feel like the more interesting part about the Mass Effect as a series is the world building,
Hmm.
um, as we'll come to see in the last game, which I won't talk about, but
Yeah. I am basically completely blind to Mass Effect 3. Save for just all the only thing I know is that the ending was at launch was very controversial. I don't even know why. So I am for me and for the listeners that who may also not have played Mass Effect 3 yet. Let's try to avoid Mass
yeah,
Effect
no,
3
I'm
stuff
I'm
as best as
avoiding. I'm just
possible.
saying,
I know.
like even for this game, like, and the whole series, like the end may be the end, but like the
Yeah.
meat and potatoes of this game is literally the characters and
Yeah.
the world
I,
building
I
within the
I think
characters.
Delilah hits the nail on the head when she says like the world building associated with each of those episodic character stories, because essentially you could sum up the plot of this game. It's basically Mass Effect 2's plot is the build up to Mass Effect 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess, and it's such an interesting way to think about it that way, because one thing I knew going into the series from the start is that 2 ends with the suicide mission, and that's like, renowned as like one of the coolest fucking things about it. And it's interesting to now have played Mass Effect 2 and hear like Mass Effect 2's story is kind of it's just like a lead up to 3. But like I've only ever heard that like Mass Effect 2 is this really epic, awesome game that like a lot of people adore, and it's for a lot of people it's their favorite in the series.
yeah,
So it's kind of interesting to now have entered that discourse, entered that conversation, and hear something different than I feel like I've always heard.
Hmm.
Um, I do want to, before we get into the characters, and we're gonna well, let's thinking back on it, let's table how the suicide mission actually went for all of us until after we talk about the characters, because they're so heavily and intrinsically tied to one another. I think it's best we talk about the characters first and then go into the end result. Um, I do want to say that like there were still some pretty big story revelations and moments outside of those character stories, outside of the recruitment and loyalty missions, like the collectors. This new antagonist that's kind of replaced the Geth as the Reapers uh pawn, so to speak. They're the Protheans.
hmm
Right.
Didn't see that coming. That
no,
was pretty fucking interesting, and I really appreciated it, because I was once again like a few things that popped up in Mass Effect 1. I was kind of thinking like the Collectors. That's kind of a lame name for an entire alien race. It's just a replacement name for what they really are, which is the Protheans, this ancient race that
There's
existed.
space boogeymen.
Yeah, okay, well, sure, but like it's still interesting. Like everyone wonders, like, or everyone thought the Reapers wiped them out.
hmm
What was it, 5,000 years ago, or whenever? Is it 5,000 years that whenever the Reapers press the reset button? Is it every
5,000,
5,000?
10,000. Who's
It's a
counting? Who's
it's a
counting?
long amount of time. It's a really long amount of time. Um, but like we thought they wiped them out. No, here they are. They're just indoctrinated and under the Reapers' control, doing their bidding for them and collecting humans. And we'll get into the reasoning for that too. But I thought that was a really surprise twist that I wasn't expecting. It was pretty cool.
yeah,
Uh, so I guess, yeah. Do we want to talk about the got one?
nice, GG, RIP net, one down, one to
Christ,
go.
son of a bitch. All right. Do we want to jump into talking about the characters?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's
Yeah,
like
kind of have to because that's the way the game is the story is
yeah.
kind of laid out. Yeah,
And this is going to be the bulk of the episode too, I feel, because like when we get down to the gameplay section, it's really Mass Effect 1 with differences that we'll talk through, but like we don't have to go as in depth. If you want to hear like our thoughts on like the main core Mass Effect gameplay, go listen to our Mass Effect 1 episode. But okay. Let's start with the first guy we really meet, and that's Jacob Taylor. He's a dude that works for Cerberus. It's like kind of just like the generic soldier, kind of taking the place of like
Kaiden.
Kaiden and Ashley kind of. What did you guys think of Jacob?
He's a slightly more interesting Kaiden, which isn't saying much.
Yeah.
He's kind of boring, unfortunately, but he does feel like down to earth. His character specifically made me be like, well, maybe Cerberus isn't so bad. Besides the fact that they brought Shepard back to life,
Yeah.
But and we'll get into like how I felt about Cerberus period, but he was the one character that I was like, he seems like just like a trustworthy guy who's just worried about family. So how could he like be working for a company that has bad intentions? That was the
Yeah.
most interesting part about his
because
character.
of Martin Sheen's sultry voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason, any thoughts of yours
Yeah,
on Jacob?
I agree pretty much with what Delilah just said. I kind of felt bad. He felt like the character that got the most shortchanged,
Yeah.
which I kind of expected because like as opposed to pretty much everybody else in the party, there's no real interesting backstory given to him. I mean, obviously there's the stuff with his dad, which we'll talk about, but as for him himself, he's just a dude working for Cerberus.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into his loyalty because, like, yeah, and not to, I kind of agree. I just from my view of all these characters we're looking at the names of right now, he was the least interesting.
Yeah.
Even when you add in the DLC characters, I found him to be the least interesting.
Oh yeah.
And he's the first character you meet, and yeah, he is kind of a parallel of Kaiden and Ashley. And if you go back to our episode on Mass Effect 1, I didn't find Kaiden to be that interesting of a character either. It and the only reason I had more of an opinion on Ashley was just because of her views on other alien races, um, being a little negative. But Jacob is just kind of he just comes off as a generic soldier guy. Obviously, he has this whole beef with or thing with his dad, and that's his loyalty mission. Is we have to go find the ship that, or we find and go investigate the ship that his dad was on, crash landed on a planet. We go to investigate. What did you guys think of that mission?
I actually thought it was pretty cool. Despite like, and I wasn't anticipating like it definitely wasn't up there with like the best loyalty missions in the game.
Yeah,
But considering the nature of Jacob and his character, as we just kind of laid out, I wasn't expecting to get as much out of his loyalty mission as I did. I thought the concept was pretty neat, and this idea, essentially him being not betrayed, but his father was essentially kind of a false idol, both
yeah.
both literally and for Jacob mentally, psychologically, I should say.
It's been a while since I played the game, but if I'm not mistaken, he like all of the people in that place got that where you do the loyalty mission got sick, right? Because he was like saving himself. Am I
Yes,
okay?
basically they became like animals,
Hmm.
and he was kind of like he utilized his position to take control and basically use them as a shield to keep himself
Right, to
It was
keep himself
survive.
safe.
basically
Yeah,
Mass Effect's version of Lord of the Flies, but with
yeah,
adults.
yeah, basically.
Um, or I guess like Mass Effect's version of Lost. Maybe
Thank
maybe
you.
Lost is a better is a better analogy. Except for that all the weird supernatural shit. Um,
Yeah, but in effect, that made his father interesting, not him. So, like, he was just upset about it. Like, he thought his
right.
father was
Yeah.
like this hero and this leader, and he turned out to just be
Yeah,
selfish.
and
Yeah.
it's clever writing. Like I said, false idol on Tundra, both literally and because they worship him. The people that like freak out or whatever it is.
I
I
guess
forget the exact explanation.
I would have found it all much more interesting if the character involved with the mission wasn't such a like kind of a wet blanket.
Right.
I didn't hate Jacob. I just didn't have. He's like Haydn. I didn't have much of an opinion on him at all, and that kind of like made me not like use the character very often and on missions, and just didn't care much for him by the end.
It almost seems like at times he's just there to be another romance option for FemShep. Like,
He was real
Yeah.
easy too. He was as easy as Liara. Like he just offered himself right away. I was like, bro, I just met you, and you're
Please take me,
like
use
giving me
me.
the option.
I'm yours.
Yeah.
All right, well I guess let's talk about if we're talking obvious romance options. Let's talk about the next obvious one, Miranda.
yo, fuck her. I was trying so hard to get her. All right, so let me just preface this by saying,
Wait,
since
are
I
you
was
femship or?
no,
Oh,
so
okay.
Wait,
I,
you were FemShep in Mass Effect 1. You
I
changed your
was,
character?
I decided to change to male because I basically wanted to continue playing the game. I wanted to continue with being renegade like I was.
Okay.
Um, although I did some Paragon stuff because I wanted a little bit like a renegade, but with there's a little bit of heart of gold in there.
Renegade, but
But
with the soft side.
my primary focus of this playthrough was seeing how many people I could have sex with. So, and I
Right.
was so mad I only hit two because I messed up. I would have had three, but Miranda, man, I don't know what I did that set her off that I couldn't romance her. But because after every single mission, I would go back to her fucking office, and she'd be like, "Yeah, I'm busy. I got work to do." I'm like, "Fuck you."
I think you can't start romancing someone until you do their loyalty mission, and then you can go
No,
back and talk to them.
I did it like first opportunity. So like after which, and I'm pretty sure I chose the right dialogue option for the specific scene where she gets in a fight with
Jack.
Jack, yeah,
Yeah.
who I slept with. But
Yeah, I
but,
think I think I read that Jack is like really easy to because
yeah,
it's not really romancing. You can just
no,
like have
no,
sex with her.
yeah. You basically just go down and you choose a safe word, and then you beat each other up for a bit, and then have sex.
Hell yeah, bro.
That sounds like Jack. We'll talk about Jack soon. But okay, Miranda. Besides trying to have sex with her and failing, what did you guys think of Miranda?
I like that they. Um, I like that it's kind of like a what do you call it? I don't know the word I'm looking for. Basically, they set her up in the beginning as she's just a straight faced right hand man to the elusive man,
Mm-hmm.
or right hand woman in this case. But then there's a very layered. Um, you start to see as especially after you do her loyalty mission a lack of confidence in herself,
Yeah.
especially when looking at you, and there's almost jealousy there.
Yeah. Yeah, her character arc was pretty interesting because she starts off like you don't know whether to trust Cerberus or not, and you very much question that, and she doesn't know whether or not to trust you,
Mhm.
despite being the one that led the project to bring you back to life. Like she's very apprehensive and kind of untrusting of Shepard, which I thought was interesting for her to develop into a character that trusts Shepard, so much, even as to like have him come and on the loyalty mission, have him or her, I guess. I think Delaila. It was yeah. Just quick check in. You played as a female Shepard
Yeah.
Paragon, right? On your first playthrough, at
On
least.
all three, yeah.
Okay. And once again, I was male Shepard Paragon. And we'll carry that into Mass Effect 2. So just wanted to do that quick check in on who we were.
Mhm.
But yeah, like Miranda, her loyalty mission I thought was pretty cool. She has a twin sister, and apparently not really a twin like at birth, just a twin genetically.
Yeah,
But she's in fact younger, which
and
is
that's where that kind of inferiority complex comes from, is the fact that she was created by
yeah.
her
And you know
quote
what?
unquote father.
I thought that like Miranda as a character was fine. I have a couple issues with the way some characters are designed and portrayed, like in their appearance, because Miranda's backstory was just so fucking stupid to me, where she's like, I was created as a perfect being, like down to my body and my physique, and like she's wearing this very skin tight suit that's really accentuating her large breasts and ass. And apparently, like the original Mass Effect 2, they fixed this with like the Legendary Edition, but the original cutscenes in the original release fixated a lot unnecessarily on her ass,
Yes.
Yeah.
which was something that like a lot of people obviously had issues with. And I'm just like thinking, knowing that and hearing her describe her character and kind of explain her backstory, I'm like, this is really weird and kind of gross.
Yeah, like her quote unquote father created her to have a big ass and big tits, right? That sounds
Basically,
perfect.
that's kind of like how she was describing herself and the project that made her, and I'm just like, that's such a fucking weird backstory to have. And
But honestly,
Well,
truthfully, and this is kind of an issue I have with like Mass Effect as a whole, is that all the character bodies, specifically the females, with the exception of someone in Mass Effect 3, um, they have the same bodies, including Miranda. If you put like a different outfit on her, her body doesn't look any different from FemShep or like any of the other
right.
characters. Like
yeah,
they all have like the same exact body type. It's just what she was wearing that made it seem a little more like,
right,
Right. And to be fair to her background story, it's specifically because of what her purpose was supposed to be. Was like she was meant to do what she does, be a spy, an infiltrator. Like,
yeah. And that part, that aspect I did like and I did enjoy. It's just like hearing her describe that and like how her physique looks, and knowing like about all the cutscenes in the original release, like fixating very very keenly on her, her rear end, was just like, wow, this is kind of
it's sick. It's a little
this
sick.
is kind of gross.
Yeah.
Fixed in the Legendary Edition, we don't get lots of like a ton of camera angles fixated on her butt this time, but like it's still just like really weird. But like I overall like her character a lot. And her loyalty mission was really cool. Having to, like, there were lots of twists. She trusted someone from her youth, and
Mm.
they kind of betrayed her.
mhm.
And after you handle that whole situation, like you can. Did you have her? Did you guys have her? I assume both you did the mission.
Yeah.
Did you have her go like talk her into going to talk to her sister, or not talk to her sister?
I think I encouraged her to talk to her sister. Yeah.
Um, shit, I can't remember. I don't think I did.
Oh man.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
really
no.
cared. She really cared about her. Like she didn't really
Yeah.
seem to care about anyone.
I think
Although,
I think I didn't because like there's the renegade option is like realistically because they didn't want the possibility of like another breach of security, somebody finding her out, like her sister
mm,
knowing that she's looking over or whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I encouraged her to go talk to her, and it was like it was a sweet moment when she came back, and she was pretty happy about it, and her sister seemed happy, and yeah, I liked that mission quite a bit.
refresh my memory. I played this a while ago, by the way,
Yeah.
for the listeners. So I will be requesting a lot of refreshing. But she like with Jacob at a certain point. Like I felt like they had a romance. Like
I
in
No,
don't
the
think
past.
so.
No,
No,
I
they
thought
were
they
just
like
they were
alluded
just
to
both
that.
Cerberus people. So
yeah,
Okay.
he's actually kind of distrustful of her a lot. Although maybe in supplemental material they did have a
Mm.
relationship at one point, and
Yeah,
that's
I don't know why
why.
that's popping in my
But
head.
throughout most of the game, a lot of the choices you make is actually Jacob and Miranda arguing over what they should do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and that kind of comes down to just like Jacob is more someone hired by Cerberus. Miranda is much deeper in the weeds
Hmm.
and reports much more directly and closely to the elusive man.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where that disconnect comes from.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my boy that I was so giddy and so happy when they were describing Archangel, and we had to go find Archangel, and I'm just sitting here like, as they're
Oh
describing
my
him and
god, I
talking
love
about him, I'm like,
this.
yo, this is gonna be Garrus.
I
And it's
love
getting closer.
this.
I'm like, this is gonna be fucking Garrus. And sure enough, I get to him. It's my boy Garrus.
Yeah.
I honestly had no idea it was gonna be Garrus until I saw like his armor, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh. So cool.
I was so happy I was right about that. I was so excited. And like, oh, yeah. So hopefully you played Mass Effect 1 and you played this game, and so you're not like totally lost on who Garrus is. Garrus is one of your companions from Mass Effect 1, and man, like the banter between him and Shepard, perfect. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like at one point he's talking about like how he got shot and like kind of like hit on like his face a little bit,
Hmm.
and like
Yeah.
you can bring that up, and he's like, oh, I'm still better looking than you, someone's got to get the girls or whatever, something along those lines. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is perfect. I love this so
Garrus has
much.
some of the best dialogue in the entire series. Well, specifically Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Hmm.
It just gets better and better.
Yeah, but like it's so interesting to have a returning character but suddenly have like such a, it's not so much backstory as it is what he's been up to the past 2 years,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
he's kind of become almost like a vigilante. Kind of, he went to Omega and
He's Space Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Space Batman.
On point.
There you go. um but yeah, it was really cool. Like, and his whole loyalty mission is about taking revenge on the guy that he thinks uh uh snitched on his squad and got them all killed. I don't remember the character's name, but like he wants to take revenge. He wants to kill him and make him pay for what he did. And you find out that like it's not how it seemed. And like, so with regards to that mission, did you guys allow Garrus to take his revenge, or did you protect the guy and make sure that Garrus heard his side of the story and potentially let him go?
I
Oh no, killed him.
definitely. Really?
Of course you did.
I had to because I was doing a Renegade playthrough.
Renegade,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to hear his side of the story.
Yeah.
And it actually turned out to be pretty tender.
Yeah, it was and Garrus was even you still get loyalty, and because Garrus is like, thank you for for kind of talking me down and getting me through that whole thing and convincing him otherwise.
Wait,
Yeah.
I
He's
think I think I might have done the I think there is an option to have him tell the story and still kill him, which I think I did.
Yeah, you can still, after he
Yeah.
tells everything, you can still let Garrus take his revenge if you want, but like um I think you can have let Garrus just kill him before he even gets to talk,
Hmm.
or
I'm pretty sure I heard that story.
yeah. But yeah, I was so happy to have Garrus back in the
Yeah.
crew. What a great character. I really genuinely love Garrus.
Same.
Another great character. Another really really great character, in my opinion. Morden.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Morden. And I thought the mission to recruit him was also really cool. How like there's a whole area of Omega that's quarantined and uh only affecting alien races, and he's down there trying to like develop a cure.
Right.
um I thought that was a really cool mission. Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Morden?
Um, well, funnily enough, at one point, just because I was talking with the characters so much, just to try to make sure I didn't miss any like dialogue options.
Yeah.
At one point, Morden made a comment, Morden made a comment that like he was like apologizing. He's like, "Sorry, I am not sexually attracted to you," because I think it's like a joke that the developers put in the game to if you were like trying to romance, so like a fourth wall breaking moment about
Uh-huh.
romancing in the Mass Effect series.
Yeah.
Um, but as a character, no, I mean, I don't know. I feel like his mission to get him was interesting, and his loyalty mission was interesting. But like generally speaking, I didn't feel like he played much of a role, which I was actually kind of disappointed because he is an interesting character.
Well, I think, go ahead, Delilah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what's interesting about him is his relationship to the Krogan and kind of like
Right.
his purpose, like as a Solarian, was to like stop the Krogan from like reproducing so that they don't like get so powerful that they like kill everyone.
Well, it was to
Um,
like slow the rate. That's what, like the twist that you find out in this game, I guess. I don't remember if it was if it was ever mentioned in Mass Effect 1, but what Morden tells you in this game is that it wasn't to stop them from reproducing. It was just to control the population level. So basically, like they're not completely infertile. It's just micromanaged by other alien species.
Right. And just seeing him come around when you're kind of talking him down and saying like this is like kind of wrong, and just him seeing like what the results of the research is that he's doing, and like having a reaction to it, I thought was really cool. Other than that, he's like a nasally, like,
Yeah.
like smart, you know
I
It's
just love
nerdy dude.
how
it's funny.
I
It's funny the way you guys talk about that because you guys both did Paragon, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
On like everything. Yeah. So like I when it comes to like the genophage and everything, I'm like, oh cool, the genophage, cool. You do you, bro. Like,
Oh, as a renegade, yeah.
yeah,
That's funny. But like, I really like Morden, like his personality. He speaks very quickly and very concisely, and I really liked that. It gave him a very unique personality to talk to and hear things from.
And everything that comes out of his mouth is logical, even when he's trying to compute like emotions. And then when he finally just leans into the emotions, it's just so like, yes, like you like there's development there, you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
When it came to his loyalty mission, did you guys what's the choice there? You can either delete the data, the research that the other guy was working on with the genophage, or you can keep it. Do you remember what you chose?
I think I destroyed it because I felt like somebody was going to use it for bad or something like that.
Because like the research was on how, because the guy that you hunt down again, when it comes to missions
It was
and
another
like,
Solarian, I think, right?
yeah, I just can't
Yes.
remember names as clearly, just because there's a lot.
Mhm.
But like that Solarian was very remorseful and kind of developed a cure for the genophage, and that was what all that research was. And I think the Paragon choice was to destroy it, and that must have been what I chose.
To destroy the
Um,
cure or the genophage.
the research on curing the genophage,
Hmm.
because I think the logic behind that was that it like Delilah said, it could get into the wrong hands, and kind of be a recreation of the situation all over again. I think that was the Paragon option, and I think that's what I chose.
I
I
might have
can't.
chose. I think I chose the same thing because my logic would have been fuck Renegade Paragon. I didn't want to do something that would inadvert because like there are several points throughout the games that you can piss off Rex. Um,
Yeah.
so I didn't want to like do something that would kick Rex out of the party at some point.
Yeah, I think the reason why it was quote unquote a Paragon choice is because the research that was being conducted was actually harming the
Right.
Oh,
Krogan.
yeah, right.
Like
It's
Because
so
they
so,
it's so hard because there's so many missions where you're going through similarly looking levels, and they have
yeah.
somewhat similar circumstances, like some kind of disease or like radiation, or you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah. Audience, bear with us if you're screaming at your phone or whatever device you're
yeah.
listening to the show on, and we're getting stuff wrong. Like, there's a lot to this game with the characters, and like in Delilah's case, she played it months ago, so we're trying our best here.
And this was the first game I think of this podcast ever that I beat before Mark, and not only that, these two.
No, that's not true. You beat Forbidden West before I did.
Oh,
it's
maybe
true.
okay, but in addition to that, this I don't care about trophies at all. These guys are obsessed with trophies. I almost platinumed this game.
Let's
I did.
go.
I
I
did look at your trophy list. You came
yeah,
very close.
yes, and I wasn't even trying.
Yeah.
So
Um.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, yeah, you're right though. Uh it was because the experiments that were going into the research were very inhumane.
Yeah.
They were causing lots of Krogan
Suffering.
turmoil and
Yeah.
suffering. Yeah, so yes, good remembering, good call. That was the situation there. But yeah, it's kind of ironic. As much as I loved Morden as a character, I feel like his loyalty mission is one of the ones that I kind of forgot a lot about.
it also
Yeah.
depends like what order you do them in.
Yeah,
I did his early on because you get him early on.
yeah, yeah.
I just remember I like that he felt bad about what he saw that how the Krogans were being treated with the experiments that they were conducting. His race was conducting.
Yeah. Yeah, so good character on Morden. Let's talk about another overall, I would say a good character. Let's talk about Jack. Um I thought that the recruitment mission for Jack was really cool, especially because a name like Jack you typically associate with as a male, and you finally come across Jack, and it's in fact a female biotic convict. I think that as they refer to her within the game, the biotic convict as the party member. But um yeah, really wild and badass character. I thought. What did you guys think of Jack?
I thought she was a good addition. I really that was one of the more memorable loyalty missions for me, just because I liked the more subdued nature of it, more kind of
Yeah.
Jack questioning. I mean, her character for the most part is portrayed pretty straightforward. She is a erratic rogue that doesn't work with anybody, and then kind of her entire perception of her past, everything that happened to her, is completely flipped upside down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
Yeah,
she.
I think her backstory makes total sense why she's so rough around the edges and so
Mm-hmm.
distrustful. And yeah, I liked her.
And
She was fine.
yeah, I liked her recruitment mission because you're kind of tricked into thinking that you're just gonna pay and take her with you, and they actually try to trap Shepard,
Mm-hmm.
claiming that whatever we can get for having you would be way more than you could give us for this person.
Her, yeah,
So we're gonna try to trap you, and that did not fucking work out.
right.
But I thought that was a cool recruitment mission, and then yeah, the loyalty mission was also neat because like you said, Delaila, was much more subdued, and you kind of find out the truth. What you thought was what she thought was the truth all this time was not quite so. Did you guys spare the one guy that was there? I can't remember who he was, but
Oh, hell no.
no, you killed. Well, yeah, okay, you're a renegade. I guess it's kind of silly to ask these questions when like you either play Paragon or Renegade, and like the choices are pretty obvious for which one.
Not always. Sometimes
Yeah, I
I
guess it's true.
question why something's Renegade, why something's Paragon.
Yeah.
That's
I guess no
true.
matter what, I'm still gonna ask, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Delad, did you
I
spare him? Did you let him go?
I don't actually remember that, but I'm thinking of how I played this game. I probably spared him
Okay.
if I could.
And it was pretty cool watching the facility blow up as we're flying away in the shuttle. That was a pretty cool scene. The thing I really want to talk about with Jack, once again, I thought I her visual design was just so stupid. She's just like, okay, completely clad in tattoos. Obviously, like she's a badass woman. She's mostly been like in prison for who God knows how long. Like that aspect of her design was really cool. I'm talking about the stupid titty straps that are in no way practical, especially with how much she's moving and jumping and like leaping around and stuff. It's just dumb. It's a really dumb design, and I just
I
don't
think
get it.
they tried to explain something related to like how she views sexuality or something like that. I don't know. I think there was like some dialogue there to explain why she dressed like that. I can't remember exactly.
I don't know if to me, it's another quiet situation.
Oh,
which...
that was just Kojima being a fucking perv.
But I think they're pretty similar, right? Like Kojima, like with Metal Gear Solid 5. For anyone that doesn't know, there's a character named Quiet who doesn't speak and is a sniper. Really, really cool character, really badass. She's wearing a fucking like very skimpy bikini with just like some tights on and some combat boots.
Well,
And
you're
like
forgetting. You're forgetting there's a in-lore reason for that.
No, I know there is, and I'm not going to spoil it here. It's not a satisfying reason.
No.
The reason she's dressed like that is just, huh?
Here's the difference between Quiet and Jack. I see what you're saying, but the thing is, there was like a tacked on reason for Quiet that I won't say that really is stupid. For Jack, it was more of an emotional, like, I don't give a shit. Like,
I guess,
and I'm gonna and I'm gonna have to actually disagree. I love Jack's design. It's fucking metal as shit.
No, okay. Once again, the only thing that really bothers me is just the titty straps
Because
because I
it's
think
not
it's really
sexy,
stupid.
right? Jack's character is
No,
not sexy, whereas Quiet's was intended to be in a way. Like Jax is meant to
right.
be like I kind of look like a boy, but also like my tits are out, you know, like and it's I don't know, it's a little more like I don't give a shit. Yeah,
I
like
guess my biggest beef though is just the practicality of it, in that like how is that strap always
yeah,
staying over her nipples? Like it makes no sense.
yeah.
She's leaping around doing all sorts of badass biotic shit, and yet somehow that thing is always there.
She's
Just
holding
like
them up with the force or something. I don't
it
fucking
doesn't.
know.
Yeah, like I guess. Well, yeah, I mean, if all they had to do was go ahead and say like, oh, like, but Jack explains that like in a dialogue, like, well, how the fuck does that? Does your titty strap stay over your nipples so all the time? Oh, I'm constantly using biotics to keep it in place. Like that's all they had to say, and I would have felt way better about it. But I still think it's really stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but I get where you guys are coming from. Like she's not a traditionally sexy character, and like I like overall the tattoos and everything else with her design I love. It's just the titty straps that make absolutely fucking lutely no sense to me. It's
Yeah,
the only thing I take issue with her design, but I think it's dumb enough to bring up.
yeah.
Um, so that's I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about Jack's. I really like the character. I like how blunt she is. I love how crude she can be. It's very much a different type of character than we've seen before in the series, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate her for that. But like,
I really love how she's like the only one that's chilling in the engine room, and she's like, I just want to be away from everyone at like the
yeah,
lowest depths of the Normandy.
and like the loudest room too, because it's just like all the engines going and
Yeah.
whatnot, and she's like, no, that's where I want to be. That's
Hmm.
exactly where I want to be. It's like, oh, okay, well, you can have fun.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I do, I like, I don't want you guys or the audience to think that I didn't like her character. I really did. She's what was probably up there as one of my favorite characters. It's just the strap thing is just stupid.
Yeah.
It's the only issue I really have.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Grunt. Another perfect
I'm
organism.
just so like the Krogan are my babies, so I get so like attached to every single Krogan that I meet, and I just want to protect them, even though they don't need to be protected. It's weird.
It was also very clever of the writers to have the one character that has a I have to find myself archetype story, and it's a Krogan.
Yeah. And but also talking about clever things from a writing perspective. You don't go on that mission to recruit Grunt.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You go to recruit. I don't remember once again. I don't remember the name of the Krogan you go to recruit.
It's the scientist that made him.
Right, you go to recruit him, and he winds up dying during that mission. If I recall, he winds up dying, and you take the pod that's holding Grunt with you, and you don't even have to open it. Like you could take it, decide, no, having a Krogan that is freshly born and completely, you don't know what he's gonna be like,
Right.
if hostile or
And
docile.
they say he's like the strongest Krogan, and you already know what the Krogan are capable of. So for him to be like the strongest is like kind of intimidating, right?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, like, I was kind of joking, another perfect organism, taking a jab at Miranda, but like that's basically what he is. Like he was built in a test tube to be the ultimate Krogan.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what Delilah was saying at the very beginning of our conversation about the story as a whole. Having him have the I have to find myself story was also a really clever way of throwing in all of, well, a allowing you to meet up with Rex again, who isn't like a party member in the game, but it's also a really clever way of having you go through all of this Krogan lore, if you will,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
all of this indirect exposition that's being relayed to you through the process of Grunt kind of mm, finding himself and establishing his place within the Krogan hierarchy, society, whatever.
So I guess it goes without saying we all opened the pod and let Grunt out, right?
Hell yeah, bro!
Right.
I ain't scared.
Yeah. Okay.
They're my
Okay.
babies.
Okay, then yeah. On to Chanka. What did you guys think of that loyalty mission? Doing the Krogan it's like an initiation ritual basically. What did you guys think of that?
Oh, I love the whole mission, the lore. You learn so much about the society, and like there's cool politicking within this
Politicking.
these clans of Krogan that Rex is trying to unite, and he's like the leader of the, I don't know what you would call it, the not the head clan, but like the peaceful clan that's willing to interact with other people.
The Erdnot.
Or
Talking
yeah,
about the Erdnots. I don't remember the name of the antagonistic clan that was also trying to court Grunt into joining. But I think I was talking to Alex after I did that mission. Oh, I think I just killed the other gnat, guys.
Let's go. GG.
Sweet. Um, I don't think there's a way to avoid killing the leader of the other clan. I think you no matter what choice you make, you have to kill him,
mm,
which I thought was interesting. There was no talking your way out of that one. He was always going to fight you.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting, but like kind of it kind of makes sense, you know.
yeah.
He it seemed like he wasn't gonna he was either gonna take Grunt or nothing, you know. He was either gonna take Grunt or die, and you know there was no way he was taking Grunt. So
Yeah.
yeah. Before we move on from Grunt, can we talk about how awesome the reunion with Rex was?
I just love Rex.
I don't know
love
about
him.
you guys. I was cracking the fuck up. You go up to where he is, and he's in the middle of talking with someone, and he looks over and sees you, and he just gets up and leaves the conversation he's having and comes over and starts shaking my hand like,
Yeah.
Shepard, my friend. And I'm like, Rex, oh
Yeah.
my
Well,
god.
it's also such an interesting context, like especially if you've just played the first one, where he's just like a fucking badass bounty hunter, and now he's
Yeah.
a fucking politician. Like,
Yeah. And basically the head of his clan, and trying to veer it in the right direction. Oh god, I love Rex.
Yeah, he's great. Also, this is where you learn about like female Krogan a little bit more. They start talking about
yes,
the female
Yeah.
Krogan clan.
they're basically all just trying to get that booty. That's like the entire.
Yeah.
That's what all of the politics of Krogan fucking revolve around.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're very yeah. It's almost like they're it's not to say that they're not like an intelligent or advanced species, but they are a little primitive in that regard, where
Well, it also has to do with the genophage. Like,
right.
yeah,
I'm not saying it's not justified. It totally
yeah,
is. When you consider the genophage and how limited their reproductive ability is, it makes sense that they want to make sure that the Krogan species stays afloat.
Yeah.
It is interesting. It's very interesting lore to dive into. But yeah, the reunion with Rex made me so happy.
Yeah.
mm,
It was that mission was also a good opportunity to see the sandworm again, because like
Mhm.
we didn't have that open like world stuff. Not open world, but like you know how you could explore each planet on one
Yeah.
on the what was that vehicle?
The
The
Mako.
Mako, yeah.
Mako.
We didn't have like any Mako stuff here
And
really.
we will talk about the way that they handle that later, because that's
yeah. That
definitely
mission,
something I want to talk about.
from what I understand, that mission, well, the specific part where you fight the worm
The
was
Thresher
meant to
Maw.
be the Thresher Maw. Yeah, was supposed to be kind of a jab at the Mako sections from the first game because people hated them so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, this game even made a joke. I forget. It might have been on the Citadel where one person was like, "Oh, remember like the back in the days when we had to use Omnigel? Yeah, I don't miss that," or something like that. I thought that was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I think I remember that. That was funny. Okay, so it's at this point in the game, like we'll halt on talking about characters real quick, because after you recruit all the people we just talked about, you get you're able to go and do, or you're asked and kind of forced into going to this colony called Horizon to stop a collector invasion from taking the humans, and you kind of wind up succeeding and also kind of wind up failing. Like I think a third of the humans get kidnapped by the collectors. But I really want to. I bring this up because I assume if Ashley survived in Mass Effect 1, this is where she would show up.
Yes,
For me it was Kaiden.
Yeah.
it's Ashley.
So
Yeah.
okay, so you guys both had Ashley?
Yeah.
So how did that go down? Was she kind of pissy with you guys too?
Yes, this is
Well,
why I
I
rage
had
quit.
Kaiden. I'm sorry, like you.
This is why I rage quit Mass Effect 2 the first time I played
Oh,
it,
this is why.
because the first time I played it, because back in the day, because I had romanced Ashley in the first game, and
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do. She never joins or reconciles in 2, and I won't say anything else because that goes into 3.
Right.
But yeah, she doesn't like the fact that you're with Cerberus now, and that
Okay.
basically no matter what you do, she not. I don't know if I would say. Yeah, you could say breakup. I guess. I don't know. It's weird because depending on if you romance Ashley in the first game, and depending on the choices you make with relationships in the second game, you'll have in your office space that you have upstairs where all like your collectibles go and you change
Yeah.
outfits and whatnot. If you look closely on your desk, there will be a picture of Ashley sitting there throughout the entire game. If like, especially if you don't romance anybody else, and if you do romance somebody else, the picture gets turned down.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
For me it was Liara because I romanced Liara in the first game.
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing with Liara. Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless, you had to break up, right? Because
Yes, it's forced. It's forced on you.
yeah.
No matter what happens, Ashley will be there on the horizon. If obviously if Caden died and she survived, but no matter what happens, she doesn't come back to you in Mass Effect 2.
So it's the same thing if Caden or Ashley are survive. They're both not happy that you're working for Cerberus and kind of chastise you for it. But
Basically, yeah.
in the case of Ashley, if you romanced it, well, you can romance Caden if you're female Shepard, so it'd be the same thing the other way around. But that's interesting. Okay, I was.
It
Pardon me.
just
I was.
affects it just affects little details, and I think stuff in again we won't talk about it, but 3.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, cool.
That brings me to a question. I wonder what happens if you kill Rex in Mass Effect 1. If he's still like I like who would be the
Yeah.
leader of their
I don't know because I never killed. Yeah, I've
It,
Yeah,
never.
it,
I
it might
guess I'm
just
curious,
be
yeah.
it might just be some no name Krogan that you can't interact. I'm not actually sure.
Or
That's
maybe
a good
he doesn't
question.
actually die and then he's like,
Like,
Shep,
who
you
the fuck
suck.
would kill Rex?
Shepard, you
Yeah,
motherfucker.
there's some people that are like afraid of the Krogan, okay? And they suck. That's
Yeah.
all.
That's like killing Chewbacca, though. Oh wait, they wanted you to believe that happened for 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let. I'm not getting into.
All
Rise of
right,
Skywalker
yeah, let's
spoilers.
move on.
That's another spoiler cast for a whole another day. God, can we never talk about that movie? All right, so yeah, that was kind of like the end of. I would say that was like the end of Act 1. You know, doing that mission, and then you get more dossiers. So let's talk about best girl of this game, of really Mass Effect 1 too. But you couldn't romance her then. Let's talk about Tally.
Oh yeah,
And you kind of do. You run into Tally. We didn't bring this up. When you're kind of introduced to the collectors at the beginning of the game, you do run into Tally on the one planet you go to.
the very first mission. Yeah,
Yeah, but you guys kind of go your separate ways because she's got her priorities trying to help her people, the Quarians, and you've got your priority trying to figure
there's
out
also a
what's going on with
choice.
the humans.
There's also a choice there, although it doesn't seem to have much. I didn't really experiment with it, but as far as I know, it doesn't have much impact um, on your relationship with Tally. There's that guy, that other Quarian who goes crazy,
Yeah,
and you can either give him the Cerberus and like you get a cool Omni tool thing, or you let the Quarians take them back home, and you just
get
get either Renegade points or Paragon points,
okay. I mean, that's
and you
probably
get
the
a
majority of what it
tool.
is.
Yeah, but you meet up with him later depending on what you choose.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Yeah, so with Tally, you go her recruitment mission is you go and wind up saving her from uh she's on this one planet where like the moon or the sun is like burning everything. That was kind of a cool mission because it kind of subverted the gameplay a little bit because you had to be more mindful of your cover and kind of be more careful when out in the open than more than you normally would be, which I thought was pretty cool. And recruiting Tally is you stop the Geth from fucking her day up, and you can help the one guy. Did you guys help the one guy? Like, did you tell him to go out guns blazing, or did you tell him to like stay behind cover and you would take care of it?
I think I helped him, so he survived. So
Okay.
basically,
Yeah.
like he stayed back and covered me while I went out.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
I did
Same.
the same thing. He was a total bro.
I really liked
Yeah.
that mission from a design perspective. The way they used, these sci-fi environments.
Yeah.
The way because when you're in the sun, you lose health, shields, and health,
Yeah.
and then you have to not only do you have to find cover, but you have to find cover that's in shade.
No, yeah,
So
and
it's
that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be
yeah.
very mindful of your environment, which isn't something that the game toys with a lot.
Yeah.
I wish it did
Um,
more, especially
yeah,
because of how similar some of given the mechanics, which we'll talk about eventually. But um, sometimes the levels can feel kind of samey in their design, so I wish they did that
yeah,
more.
we will talk about that because I do want to talk about that. I will say though, if they were to do more stuff with that, I would have liked a better and more intuitive cover system.
Yes, we'll talk
Mm.
about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that later. Back to Tally. So her whole her recruitment mission is whatever. You go and help her save her from this one planet and the Geth that were attacking her. But like what was really interesting was her loyalty mission, going to the flotilla and convincing the Quarians that she didn't intentionally try to endanger them by bringing live Geth onto to their civilization,
Yeah,
which I thought was great because talking to all the admirals on the Admiralty board was really interesting. They were all very distinct and different, and all had very distinct and separate opinions on the situation, on Tally and on you, and I thought that was really really cool.
yeah. It's again another one of those situations like with Grunt, where you're getting a lot of indirect exposition. You're learning a lot about the Quarians that you didn't really interact with them aside from Tally at all in the first game.
Yeah.
Um, so you're learning a lot about their society at the same time. You're learning a lot about Tally as a character and her interactions, her background within that society.
Mm-hmm.
Very well done, very well handled, and
Yeah.
and a fun mission.
Yeah, I do think that the end result with her father was a little bland.
It's predictable.
Yeah, I mean, just finding out like his whole thing was that he wanted to try and bring he was the one that did it. It wasn't Tally. Tally didn't send the live Geth there. He took the parts and built live Geth in order to try to bring them to their side, and so they could try to win the war and take back their home. I don't know. It all kind of landed a little flat for me.
Mm.
Um, like because it was the whole like he was doing it for her, but like he did something awful, and she couldn't really reconcile that, you know.
Hmm.
But it just didn't. I don't know. How did you guys feel about that whole thing?
I was okay with it only because of what it meant, and I'm treading on water here because I don't want to go too far, or, like misspeak
Okay.
to
Yeah,
further
yeah.
game. But um,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah, I just think like he was on to something maybe.
Okay.
Which we come to
it's
find out
it's
at the end of this
foreshadowing.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Which we come to find out at the end of Mass Effect 2 as
That's
well.
fair. That's fair. And we will talk about that briefly. Maybe I should have saved Tally as the last character
It's
before we
one of
talk
those.
about who you're referring to.
It's one of those things where, like, in retrospect, with all three games out, and you can just play them through,
Yeah.
it fits much better than it probably would have at the time when all you have to judge is that single piece.
That's fair. Yeah. Once again, I know nothing about Mass Effect 3,
But
so
like in the end, we do meet Legion, right?
yes, yeah, and
Okay,
we'll
so
talk. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Like I said, I feel like I should have held Tally off until right before we talk about
it
Legion.
just
But
speaks to why her loyalty mission and just like the story between the Quarians and the Geth are just like such connective tissue of the entire trilogy. Like they were the main threat in the first one, basically, and then now like
yeah.
it's just becoming more than just a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can we talk real quick about romancing Tally? I'm assuming Mark, you romanced Tally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
All right.
yeah. I romance
Um,
Tally.
and so here's the thing. I started feeling weird about it. Again, I was trying to romance like everybody that you could possibly do in a single playthrough, and
Yeah.
obviously, romancing some people will lock out the ability to do it for others.
Yeah.
And I guess when I say romance, I just mean have sex, but like because obviously you can only technically quote unquote romance one character
Yeah.
before the suicide mission. Um, but romancing Tally,
Jason's just walking up to every woman on the Normandy saying,
basically,
we'll bang, okay?
basically, and we'll get into other characters that I was really upset that. Anyway, we'll get to it. But when it came to Tally, I don't know about how you felt about this. Her, the steps you go through, like the process to romance her and the dialogue, it felt weird. It felt almost like a not grooming, but like because basically she looks up to you. She's obviously much or is supposed to be younger than you,
It's
and she looks up to you as a hero and
she's
idolizes you, and it feels kind of almost weird. And I felt like
like a
the
power, not to grooming, but a
yeah,
power
how are
indifferent.
you? Yeah, exactly. It was
I don't know. I do think it's just like I feel like her character is very reserved and she's very very scientific, but she's not, I would say the most social person, so like picking up on those social cues and like when you kind of like tell her, oh no, I'm like totally into you. She's like, oh, okay. It's like she's a very reserved character
yeah,
and like
maybe
doesn't pick up on that stuff as well. But like, and it's kind of funny. Like it almost kind of feels like you're coercing her into a
yes,
romantic relationship
yes,
because she's like, I'm gonna figure out how we can be together.
yes,
I've taken all these antibiotics and all
exactly.
these things. I think I should be okay. Let's bang. And
Yes.
like it's like, oh, okay, all right, let's do it. Yeah, okay.
Also, fun fact: I don't know if either of you guys knew this, but I found this out, and I never knew this before the first time I played these games. Did you know that you could apparently push or not push, but there are dialogue options where you can.
I think that's a
No.
spoiler for Mass Effect 3.
No!
But
Damn it!
it's only a spoiler if you don't romance her.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no. Don't you do it in this game? I was reading it, and it says it in this game.
So, yeah, I mean, my experience of it, because I didn't romance her because I was femshep and she's straight, uh, is that opportunity can happen between them two.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mark, because I genuinely thought
But
that
like,
this was.
no,
I've never
Mark,
done this. I've never
That's
done this.
okay. No, that's less of a spoiler that I'm like I'd be upset about. But that
well,
is really
it's like
interesting.
an option. Like,
It's
when
an
I
optional thing. It's not like part of the story.
yeah,
You have to go out of your way to.
I did like a hover clip because my Mass Effect 3 experience was a thing that we'll talk about. But eventually. But all I'm saying is that I did a hover clip, and most people that played Mass Effect did not know that you could do that at all.
I did not
Because it
know until
goes
this playthrough.
like
I
into
was.
weeds. Like you have to do specific things at specific times to see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
All right. I mean,
I'll
it's not
talk about it more.
that one's not as big a deal as what Jason let out in the Mass Effect 1 episode, but
Yeah, I'm
that's fine.
sorry. That was a total accident.
That's okay.
I had a feeling you were going there, but I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe he does. I don't know.
All right. Anything else to say about anything else to bring up about Tally other than she's great?
No, because we got some
Oh,
cool ass characters to talk about.
the one last thing about Tally, how did the conclusion of her trial go? How did you guys handle that?
I basically convinced everyone to, like, she became Tally Vas Normandy, but she
Yeah,
was still
yeah,
like considered like good among the Quarian. Like they didn't banish her or whatever.
Okay.
yeah. I basically like. There's a renegade option where you basically just tell them to get fucked, but it still turns out the same way, like you just said.
Oh.
Yeah. I really like the Paragon option where Shepard just completely flips it on them and is
Yeah.
just like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, she helped save the galaxy.
Mhm.
Are you really gonna fucking accuse her of this? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
She helped me fight the Geth before. Why would she do this to you? Like, what
It
is
was a
wrong?
great speech.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, fuck yeah, go Shepard.
Well, my Shepherd had all our shepherds had a lot of those moments, but I'm
Yeah.
speaking in Jennifer Hale's voice. It
Yeah.
was like so like, oh my
Oh
god.
yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I love Tally. She's great. Um, Jason, who were you going to next? Were you about to talk about Thane?
Yeah, Thane is a cool
Yeah.
ass character.
Yeah, I thought Thane was pretty cool. What was his recruitment mission though? I'm actually having trouble remembering it.
So he's the assassin, and you basically help him take down a target. That's the one. It's like a stealth mission where you're up in the rafters.
Yeah.
Well, that was his loyalty mission, but what was his
Was it as well? I thought that was his recruitment
his
that you have to help him take out the target.
his recruitment mission?
Oh no, no, no! His recruitment mission is you're going through the construction site,
Right.
and then
It's on Ilium.
yes, and he doesn't show up until the end.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that mission was okay. That was pretty cool.
yeah,
Um, it's go. You're going up and you're finding like hostages that are locked inside rooms and stuff. And I think one of them was actually one of the people on the opposing force. What was that? Was that the Blue Suns that you were facing off against
yeah.
during that mission?
You fight the Blue Suns a lot in this game.
Yeah, but I think in
Yeah,
that mission it was the Blue Suns, and one of the people you find locked in a room that you think is a hostage is actually one of the Blue Suns, if I recall, which was kind of a neat little thing.
hmm
But yeah, okay, that's right. That was things. Yeah, the loyalty mission was really cool. Like, because his whole backstory, or like the whole thing that leads to his loyalty mission is that he has a son that he kind of left behind and has kind of taken a path in life that Thane doesn't want him to do because it's very similar to his as an assassin, and so he wants to kind of prevent him from continuing down that path. And I thought that was really cool going on the Citadel. Like, you get the one guy and kind of interrogate him, um, and you're up in the rafters following what it's the one politician that's up for election,
yeah,
and he's the target that Thane's son is uh trying to or preparing to kill.
yeah.
um so how did that mission end for you guys? How did you guys deal with his son?
I don't remember.
Um, basically we ended up saving him, and like Thanes sits him down and has a talk, and I think you get him like a job with like the security forces or something. I don't remember how you get him off the hook, but like you basically do something with I think the chief of security, and
Yeah.
like you I think there are multiple choices actually. I think you can bribe him, which might have been what I did, or
Okay.
you call in a favor depending on like if you were a paragon. I forget how it goes exactly, but I think you like get him a job as like a csec officer or something like that.
I
That
do.
sounds right.
I also thought it was really cool. You kind of get more uh backstory and lore surrounding like the underbelly of the Citadel and like some of the corruption of CSEC in some ways. The one guy was like accepting bribes from one of the politician, or not a politician, like a gang boss, to like leave him alone or something. And that's the guy that I think hired Thane's son to go and murder the one politician.
There's a
That's
lot of that in this game spread out across all the characters, and I think that's one of the reasons that even though the main story I might not have liked as much as the first one,
Mhm.
overall the story in my opinion just blows it out of the water compared to the first one,
Yeah, I mean,
because you get so much as opposed to the first one where it's so much more high level, and you're dealing with like citadel politics and military politics. Here there's so much more underworld stuff going on.
yeah, and you get lots of lore behind all these individual person. We talk about it, and this was like an intentional focus for this game. We talk about how we get the final end goal at the very beginning of the game, basically, and the whole game is building a team, and it allows for all these very personal stories that still, like, in the locations that they're set in and in the societies that they're set in, they give all this additional backstory behind these things. But like, I agree with you overall, Jason. Is what I guess what I'm trying to say is that in spite of the story, the main story of this game being not necessarily as big and memorable as the first one, it's those side story, or not even these side stories, these smaller personal stories between these individual characters that make it so much more
And
impactful.
also just the side characters you meet along the way. Like I don't think we even mentioned what's her name? Um it's basically like the first area you go to where
We
you
didn't
get
even mention the name of this
Mormon.
character or this character that I can't remember the name of.
God. She's like basically the job of the well, she's not job of the hut, but she's basically like the
Oh,
criminal overlord.
Arya.
Yeah.
Arya Talok.
Yeah, she's basically like the criminal overlord of that space station,
Mm-hmm.
and she gets involved in another side quest you can do.
Yeah.
Um, but she's such an awesome character.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was really cool. I feel like the game needed more of her. We'll get to that when we talk about side quests because I do have some stuff to say about the side quests. But yeah, she was cool. But yeah, any other thoughts about Thane?
He's a character. I think the most interesting part to him is that you knew he was gonna die because like his species just doesn't last that
Yeah,
long, and so I was always like, I don't know, worried about him. But it's pretty cool that like he chose to like live as an assassin for the little bit of time that he gets, and then character development happens
Yeah,
quickly.
you get a lot of dialogue options with him. He's evolved. I think one of the reasons I liked him so much is because of all of the characters on Normandy. I think he's the one you get the most dialogue options with.
Hmm.
Um,
mm,
outside of like romancing, like stuff like with Tally. Because pretty much every time I came back to him, like there was another, and it would be like philosophical discussions that weren't like directly talking to his character development, but were like he was obviously talking about himself.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
I do kind of wish that I had talked like explored more of his dialogue options to find out. You know how he has those episodes where ostensibly his eyes kind of black out and he just starts talking really rapidly and describing like a past event in like a very like stressed kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do kind of wish I dug more into why he does that.
Mm.
I don't know if that comes down to his sickness that he has or if it's something with the Drell, his species. His species is the Drell, right?
yes,
Okay, yeah, I wanted to make sure. I don't. I didn't really. Do you guys know the story behind that?
No, not that I'm
I don't remember.
recalling, but
Okay.
yeah, now that you're mentioning that, that sounds familiar.
And that was kind of an interesting quirk with his character and what kind of set him aside, like because the sequence with the camera work, especially the camera work was like it kept like it was lots of close up shots of his face, but different angles while he's talking, and I thought that was a really interesting way of perceiving the character.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm not
yeah.
sure why.
Okay. Well, I guess leave us a comment. Let us
Yeah, if
know
you know.
why Thane does that because none of us investigated enough.
Yeah, if I
Uh,
did, I forgot.
yeah. But yeah, he's a cool character. All right, let's talk about Samara.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
The
Strawberry.
the space samurai slash milf.
what do they call? What do they call?
Judicar.
Judikar.
Judicar. Thank you.
They're basically space samurai.
Yeah.
It's
I don't.
awesome. She's
She
probably my of all the new characters, she was probably my favorite.
okay. I don't remember her recruitment
But
mission
that's because
either.
as her mission is you go to it's I
It's
think
on
it's the same.
Ilium.
Yeah, it's the planet where you get Kasumi, and she's hunting.
No.
Is it, whatever planet it doesn't matter where you
Okay.
get her.
Yeah.
She's hunting down a criminal, and basically they don't want they because they know there's corruption going on. They don't want her to like figure out the murder.
That was yeah, but that was the murder one, and like you could you find information incriminating the one guy, and you could hand it over to the police if you wanted to, or you could not, and he would
Yeah,
reward you or something. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, now I'm remembering. I thought that mission was kind of cool too because it was like
yeah.
you almost felt like a detective.
Again, yeah, and again, it's more like underworld stuff, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that was on Ilium. Okay, now I'm remembering. Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool mission. I did enjoy that, and like she was arrested and you had to kind of clear you had to like kind of figure out or clear her name or whatever before she would go on the mission with you
yeah.
Hmm.
and to you know let her off the let her out of the prison system on Ilium. That was pretty cool.
She also has one of the coolest side loyalty missions in
The
my opinion.
loyalty
Yeah.
mission was very interesting. Again, it was another kind of detective thing where you're trying to hunt down the murderer of this one girl.
And this goes back to what I was just mentioning about Arya Talak, because you have to
Yeah.
go back there, interact with her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
through that connection you get access to, and yeah, you have to go around all the clubs and question people and try to figure out
You
what's
got to
going on.
lure her out, yeah.
Yeah,
So like you can take different. I think there's a bunch of things you can do in that club to lure her out, and like I think I wound up helping this one guy. Like his partner was like in a conversation with a gangster, and you had to kind of like lure him away to get her away from him and stuff, which was
yeah.
kind of cool.
And eventually it all ends up, she takes you back to her apartment to fucking mind meld
And
you
to be
into
clear,
oblivion.
we're not talking about Samara's daughter, Morinth.
Hmm.
Um, so when it came down to being in her apartment and Samara busts in and they're both about to kill each other, who did you guys choose?
Samara.
Yeah,
You chose Samara, Jason?
yeah.
Wow, okay.
Because
I
I didn't want to lock out being able to romance or have sex with her.
well, you could you could like what I found out is I picked Samara as well for the record cuz Samara is the good choice whereas Morinth is like the evil choice.
Yeah, Morin
Um
didn't deny that she was killing the people that she slept
yeah,
with. She was like, "Yeah, I do this. You want me
it's
to do it to you too? Here, come have some pizza at my
It
place."
want to do the fucking, yeah. She does the mind meld where she like fucking
yeah.
brain melts you.
Which, even though it's very clearly a black and white choice, it's very clearly Morinth is bad and Samara is good. It's
Well,
very obvious,
She's a
but
space Ronin. Yeah,
it's still really really cool that they did something like that. That's like the only it's and again it goes back to her being a very unique character in that she can be outright replaced. And granted, they're exactly the same thing. They're the exact same character, but
and I
it's
think,
the moral decision that you can make
and I
that
think,
doesn't lock you out of a
yeah.
character.
But the thing about Samara's character that makes it so interesting, like because I actually went into side dialogue on the Normandy with her about like morality and whatnot, and
Mhm.
eventually it went into like semi romance dialogue. But I think the game just wouldn't let me romance her because I was too renegade, which
hmm.
speaks. I think that is a lockout mechanic because she is pretty much just a straight up Paragon character. Like she lives by like a samurai. That's why I call her a space samurai. She lives by this weird Judicar code.
Yeah.
I think what makes her character a little more gray is the fact that like she was like so gun ho about killing her daughter. You know, like that can't be an
Well, it's
easy.
because
Yeah.
she broke the code though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and it's because like I didn't quite catch what an Ardot Yakshi was, but like only three of them existed. Two of them, I think, are dead, and the only one remaining was Morinth, who's like a morally bad person.
I don't know.
So, and like Samara felt responsible for that, so she felt it was her duty to fix it, which obviously meant killing
Mordok,
Morinth.
Mordok, Yashi, Quesar, Haderach. Who cares?
Okay.
Dune
Yeah.
reference. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't remember. Hold on, I can look this up on the spot. A rare genetic condition in Asari, specifically affecting their nervous systems. That's what R.Yakshi means. But I'm not. Rather than reading this whole wiki right now, we'll just go ahead and say we didn't look far enough into what that meant. Point being, though, we covered the basics, though. Like, Morinth
Yeah.
was a morally bad character, and Samara was the morally better one. And
I could be
okay,
wrong, but I just interpreted it as someone who uses like that like mind body connection thing
Yeah.
so much to bad like for bad reasons.
well, seemingly it's something genetic. So she was whatever it is, she's born with it. But you could be right that it has something to do with that with the mind melding. Um, I almost said mechanic.
Yeah. I don't know if we talked. It's important to know. I don't know if we talked about this in the last episode, but the Isari are basically space parasites. Like they aren't what we see them on screen. Like
Hmm.
different species see them however they want to see
Well,
them. Like
we
what
did
they're.
talk about that aspect,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
doesn't always track considering like because we talked about because we went into the Asari a little bit and we talked about how like when Liara was explaining like they're perceived and seen by like how you're attracted to them, but
Yeah,
like
and
it doesn't
they seek
quite
out all different species to essentially because they want to have a as diversified a gene pool as possible.
right. But like it doesn't quite always make sense because like depending on like which sex you choose your shepherd to be, like they're still perceived the exact same way.
Right.
Yeah,
Um unless the implication is that female shepherd is always going to be bisexual or gay,
Right.
right.
you know. But anyway, that aside, yeah, I thought Tamara was a really cool character, and I thought that her loyalty mission was great. All right, on to Legion, the what would have been the most surprising crewmate for me had Jason not spoiled it last episode.
It was an accident. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, it's fine, it's fine. But yeah, Legion, it's a fucking Geth. I during what is it during the mission where you're trying to retrieve the Reaper IFF?
Yes,
That
Yeah.
you come
yes.
across a rogue Geth that is helping you and calling you Shepherd Commander, and it gets shut down while you're fighting other Geth, and you wind up taking it with you. And yeah, so okay,
So I think we
I
should talk about
know,
first how I accidentally on this playthrough locked
yeah,
myself out of getting.
I need to know how that
Okay,
happened.
so here's the choice you're given when. So you get this rogue Geth who is like knocked out in battle, and you have him, and you basically on one side you have Jacob saying we need to throw that thing out of the airlock. That's literally what he says. And then
Okay,
on the other hand, Miranda says no, Cerberus can use that for research. So I
yeah,
sided with Miranda because it makes more sense that we don't throw it out of the airlock so that he becomes part of the party. But
uh-huh.
apparently, if you choose Miranda's choice, Cerberus just takes it and you never see it again. Whereas somehow, I guess,
Oh.
if you choose Jacob's throw it out of the airlock, it's still on the ship. So I forgot that that was
Well,
the choice you had to
there
pick.
had to have been a third choice because there's no way I would have said to
No,
throw it out.
there was only
I don't
two.
remember. I
No,
don't remember that either.
there
I
couldn't have
wonder though
been.
if maybe he only had two choices because he was renegade.
Maybe that could have been it. I don't know because Jason there's no way I would have sided with Jacob to throw it out the airlock. But like I definitely like if I didn't pick that choice, I definitely wouldn't have picked the other because I had access to um
Yeah, it might just be that I was
Legion.
renegade then. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was wondering like if you actually did go and talk to Legion, I couldn't comprehend or understand how you possibly could have
Because
not
what
retrieved it.
happens, and I remembered this from my first playthrough, that I finished. The way you unlock him is you go down to like the AI research
Yeah,
area, and you basically turn him on, and then he's
right.
just laying there on the table. So I thought, okay, Cerberus takes him, but he'll be on the Normandy.
Hmm.
Yeah. I did think it was a neat little just bit with you being on the Normandy and you have an AI companion, Edie, and like everyone's very cautious about um that AI, being on the ship and like she's like fully ready to turn Legion on, but like I've got all my firewalls up and ready, like just in case, he's not gonna hack me. Um, but yeah, I thought Legion as a character was like what a cool I can't say unexpected surprise, but what a cool surprise as the character was just as like it being not a Geth but a Geth like collective because obviously the way the Geth work
Right.
The hive
is
mind.
they're a hive mind, but this is like a whole collection of Geth AI that that exist through a mathematical calculate or miscalculation where like they don't they aren't bad,
They're like the Bad Batch
It's like
clones.
yeah.
needs to be like the fucking architect from the Matrix to explain that it is a mathematical certainty that the outcome of the like.
Yeah, and unfortunately I did find when Legion would go on long tangents, but since it's a robot, it's got a very monotonous robotic voice. I did kind of like accidentally tune out a couple times while it was talking and explaining things, and I'm like, okay, but I got the basic gist.
Yeah.
It boils down to a mathematical error, and like you go and its loyalty mission is really cool. You go to a derelict reaper um to get the Geth hack that they're planning on using, and you kind of turn it against them, and or you can either destroy it and not use it, or no, I'm sorry, I think it's you can either use it to destroy the Geth or use it to turn them into allies. Is that right, Delilah? Am I
Yes.
remembering that correctly? Okay.
Yes, or I just vaguely remember him explaining how they became like the threat initially based on like their relationship to the Quarians, and like some religious aspects of it came out of,
Yeah.
you know, how they had to like look for, and this is kind of the theme of the series as well, like you're created and you look up to your master, but then once you realize your master is imperfect, you kind of don't know what to look to, and so you find something else to latch onto, which is
It's
why
pretty
they.
much taken from Battlestar Galactica. Well, the new Battlestar Galactica from 2004.
Mm-hmm.
For
Okay.
those of you who don't know, basically, like they worship God, and which is completely opposite of the paganism of humans in that show.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it had something to do with that, like how their mechanisms function, um, which I thought was interesting because it's like, yeah, of course we would side with the Geth because we're like siding with every other race, including the Krogan, who were like this species that just fought everything and were just completely violent, or so we thought. Um,
Yeah.
so like of course like there would be like a quote unquote good Geth that could become part of your crew member, and that way we were able to understand the Geth a lot more than the way the Quarians helped us understand them.
Yeah, it was a really cool subversion of expectations.
Yeah.
Like one of the main antagonists, or the main like antagonistic force fighting against you throughout all of Mass Effect 1. Suddenly there's one that's not bad, and you find out there's a lot of Geth AI that aren't bad. And I assume, Delilah, you used the hacking algorithm to turn them to turn them good, to like kind of reset them and turn the rest of the Geth good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I did, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that pays off, because I'm sure that's gonna come up
I
at
love
some
it.
point in the future.
I'm so excited.
Oh, great. Um, Jason, just out of curiosity, why didn't you reload your save to try and make the right decision there?
Um, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I think
You
it's.
made your decision. You just had to stick with it.
No, I think it's actually because I kept playing the game and I was doing other stuff, and I didn't realize I had made the wrong decision
Oh,
until
okay.
I had saved a couple times already after that.
Got it.
And unfortunately, sometimes decisions you make really early in the game affect something that happens later in the game, especially in Mass Effect 3. I don't know if it's that much the case in Mass Effect 2, but it does happen in the
Mm-hmm.
series. Like if you don't
Okay.
do a specific side mission at this
Yeah.
time, then you're locked out of certain decisions.
Yeah. All right. Last two crewmates. They're actually DLC crewmates, but I think that their loyalty missions were interesting enough that they're worth talking about. They don't really have recruitment missions. Like, yeah, you do have to do something to recruit
You
them, but
basically just talk to them.
exactly. Like, I recruited Zaid without even realizing that it was someone to recruit.
Well, if you're following the dossiers you're given, like from the base game, he basically just shows up like first thing. Again, I keep forgetting the name of the place where Arya Talak is
Omega.
Lord Omega.
Omega.
That's what it's called. He's right there at the entrance, so like you
Yeah,
almost can't
yeah,
miss
and
him.
I talked to him without realizing he was one of the dossiers I
Yeah,
had. I talked to him, and he was just like, "Ah, cool, I'll come with you." And I'm like, "Oh." And then a trophy didn't pop, and I was kind of like, "Why? I just recruited a guy. Why didn't the trophy pop?" And I
right.
found out it's because he's a DLC.
Mm-hmm.
They only cared about the loyalty mission for him, but his loyalty mission was kind of neat. You basically, he wanted revenge on this one guy, and you go to the planet, and you're trying to find him so he can get his revenge. And Zaid is so blinded by his desire for revenge that he's kind of disregarding anyone else, and did you guys do his loyalty mission?
Yeah. And if you're renegade, it's fun because you just burn everybody.
So I guess that's what you did, is you just let everyone die.
Yeah.
Did he get revenge in
Yeah.
that case? Okay. So Delilah, I'm assuming you didn't.
No.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
straight. If you do it renegade, it's pretty straightforward. You just kill everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paragon, you have to have enough points to convince him to like join you, but also not get revenge, and see why
Yeah.
his ways are like not good.
Yeah, because for Paragon we save the people that are in that facility, and it winds up giving the guy enough lead time that he's able to escape. And Zaid is like fucking pissed at you, and you're just like, dude, come on, like this is not what your focus needs to be right now. Like, we need to save the galaxy, and then you can fucking take your revenge. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right, I wasn't thinking rationally. Good job, Shepard.
Honestly, I look at Zaid. Honestly, if it wasn't for how fun his mission is, relatively speaking, like he'd be on the same level as like Jacob. I could take him or
Yeah,
leave him. Kasumi is a far more interesting character with a
yeah.
much better mission.
So let's go ahead and talk about Kasumi's mission. That was actually the first loyalty mission I did. But her mission was so cool. You infiltrate like a party, and you're walking around getting clues on where to find the thing that you're looking for, the black box, I think.
Yeah, it's like a heist, and you gotta
Yeah.
cut the power. And you're sneaking around the party. You gotta find the code to
Get
the
a
lock, and all
get a
that stuff.
voice sample of the one guy. So you got to like talk him up, and like he thinks you're like this that's totally someone else, and he's like getting to know you or whatever, and you're collecting a voice. Yeah, it was really really cool mission. And it was really cool walking around like his museum show floor, where he has like all these valuables and stuff and historical items, and like hearing Kasumi talk about them. And like,
Yeah,
he had like a bunch of alien things, but like he had like the Statue of David
hmm
and like all these other like real life, real world like artifacts and stuff. And like to see those there was like, it was really really cool.
right.
um and then you wind up do you wind up killing him in the end of the mission, like the bad, like the guy that you were stealing the thing from?
I don't know if you ever actually confront him. I think you just escape. Oh no, you. I think you do.
I
I think you
remember a
do
big
because he comes.
fight.
The big fight at the end. He comes in on the plane. I think.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought. I thought you
yeah,
wind up killing him there. I just couldn't quite remember. um with the mementos, like the whole thing that she was trying to recover was like this information, all these things from like her former partner, who like she was actually kind of in love with. Did you destroy those or save them? Like,
I
did you
saved
talk?
them, but then it got a little weird.
I
Like
think.
every time I would go in her room, she was like with
I think
this.
I destroyed them. Yeah, I had. She
Okay.
looks at. She basically like looks through it one more time and then gets rid of it.
I kind of wish I
Okay.
would have done that.
Hmm. I thought it was cool going into the room that she's sitting in. She like suddenly, like after I did that mission, there were a bunch of things in her room that you could interact with, and she would talk about them and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. She was the only character that had that. I
Well,
don't know.
Zaid does it too. With the
Oh,
shit
I
that's
guess
in his place.
maybe I didn't go back to Zaid's room after I did his loyalty mission.
The one beef I had with the DLC characters was there was no dialogue on the Normandy for them
Yeah.
really in the
Yeah,
same way that you had. I mean, forget about like not being able to romance Kasumi, like just being able to talk and like explore the character. Because I
yeah.
would have
Yeah.
romanced Kasumi, that would have been dope.
Well,
She's
you
an awesome
can't. She's
character.
too busy. Well, if you, if her man's dead. You can't just rebound off of a dead relationship.
Yo, I'm renegade. Why not?
Imagine
Remember,
like you
Jason wants to bang
imagine
everyone.
imagine you let her like save the memories, and she's like loving her, like the memories of her partner, and then you're like, oh, but hey, I'm here, I'm real flesh, babe.
Hey,
Like, what's good?
forget about that guy.
Yeah. It got creepy to me though, because I was thinking of that episode of Black Mirror where like the girl was just like always with the robot that had her husband's memories. I was just like, nah, this is like freaking me
Ugh.
out. Like, yeah, I went that dark with it, but the game didn't make it that creepy, but that's where my head went.
Jeez.
Before we move on to our last big character to talk about, Jason, did you know, and did you do this, that you could romance Kelly, the assistant girl that was next to the galaxy map that tells you about your crewmates?
I knew about it, but I never really looked into it.
Okay. I
Um,
was genuinely wondering if you could if you did romance her.
um, Out of curiosity, are we gonna wait till we talk about DLC to talk about oh my god, I haven't
Liara?
Liara?
Liara, yeah.
Yeah, I mean we could talk about her now because she's not actually um there's a DLC involving her, but she is not contingent on the DLC. She is there on Ilium
Yeah.
without the Shadow Broker DLC.
And there's also, after you do, well, I guess let's just wait till we talk about the DLC.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
there's stuff you can do with her after the DLC. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um yeah, so let's talk about the last major character of the game that I really want to talk about is the elusive man. Um
I thought he was great for what he was supposed to be. Like
yeah.
he's elusive. You don't know like
that man, he sure is elusive.
like he has like that, like I said, that generic like white business guy who like seems untrustworthy, but like some of the things he says make sense, but you're also
This isn't
wondering
just about Cerberus. This is about humanity, Shepard.
like, right.
Which is like his line at the end of every conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was always, I was like, he can't be completely bad because that would be too obvious. Like, he seems like someone you just don't trust, right?
I love that he's just always smoking a cigarette. Like,
Yeah, that dude is like
is this guy like he's got to have lung cancer? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, who knows? They might be so advanced that they can just.
he's also got those blue eyes, so maybe he has like biotic lungs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, his eyes are something else. I wish Martin Sheen's eyes looked that nice.
Delilah, I know what Delilah's thinking. I'm not going to say anything though.
Um. Oh, great. There's something that goes on. All right. Well, silence you two.
I'm just snickering over here. Like,
like next episode is going to be so
Yeah.
juicy. um, yeah. He seemed very untrustworthy from the start, and turns out we were right because like during the mission where we find out about the collectors really being Protheans, and we find out we ultimately need the Reaper IFF. Like he knows we're walking into a trap, and he lets us just do it because he knew that the information would be more valuable, and he knew we could get out of the situation. But it was like kind of like, wow, dude,
yeah.
you're kind of a dick. What if
Yeah.
we died? He's like, I knew you wouldn't. Like, well, yeah, probably not. But like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You could have given us a warning. And then his justification behind that was like, no, you wouldn't have found out what you needed to find out if I had just told you what to expect. It's like,
You're a symbol for humanity, Shepard. This is bigger than Cerberus. It's about humanity.
okay, so now circling back, now let's talk about Suicide Mission. The thing we've been building up to, the thing that this game ultimately culminates in.
Wait, sorry. Before we go there, you did
Yeah.
ask a question about Kelly that if we romanced her.
Yeah, did you?
So well, no, I didn't. But like, she was like a simp for aliens. So like, why would I? I wasn't the alien.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. She was.
Like, when Garrus got on the ship, she was like, "Oh, who's that?" And I was like, "Okay."
And she was like, "Oh, who's that?"
Yeah, like every time a new alien came on board.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I didn't know until I started looking into the romance options. I found out that she was romanceable, and I was like,
But she also dies permanently, doesn't she? Doesn't she get killed when the Normandy gets attacked?
not necessarily.
Because I don't, even after when we talk about the suicide mission. We should probably talk about that first before we talk about the suicide mission.
Let's talk about the thing that I thought, like when you get the Reaper IFF and you go to install it. Yeah, everyone gets on a shuttle, and then suddenly the collectors invade the ship, and you do the sequence, this fucking Metal Gear sequence as Joker. I didn't expect that. How did you guys feel about that section? It's very short.
Yeah, understandably so, because given the way he walks, it could be frustrating, especially if you're like me and you weren't paying attention to the enemy pathing and you accidentally walked into fucking collectors a few times
So
and you have to redo the entire thing all
yeah,
over
well,
again.
that's the biggest problem, right? Like, I wouldn't have minded more of that if they had given checkpoints every time you go down a ladder. But like, that happened to me in the last area when you're down on the lower deck and you're going to the engine room. There's the bit where you're down the stairs and they're walking through the one door to the other. They had passed the stairs, they hadn't closed the door yet, so I went up and I got caught, and I was like, how the fuck did I get caught? They had their back turns, they were already through the door, it just hadn't closed.
Yeah.
So that was really frustrating, and I wouldn't have, like I said, I wouldn't have minded if that section was a little longer and you had to do more sneaking, had there been checkpoints where I didn't have to do the whole fucking thing again. Because yeah, I failed and had to start from the beginning. It was really, really annoying.
Yeah.
Um,
It just
but
at that point of the game, I didn't really the sequence was whatever. I was just curious like where they were going with it. Like it was the first time we took control of any other character.
yeah, yeah, and it was just like I don't even know what to say about where they were going with it. Like,
Well, from a storytelling perspective, I guess what they were trying to go for was like the darkest night, before the character,
yeah,
prevails. But the thing is like we were talking about way at the beginning, the structure of the game, it doesn't really jive with that. But it's still a cool scene regardless, and
yeah.
it also sets up a decision on the suicide mission.
Well, it sets up a lot because after that sequence happens, you're on an unseen counter. Because I looked into the suicide mission like results a little bit after, and like after the Reaper IFF is installed, the more missions you do, additional missions before going on the suicide mission, the less likely your crew is to survive the suicide mission.
Oh yeah, because I did it
Which I
immediately after.
Right, then that's like what you're supposed to do. But if you don't, if you start going and doing other like side missions, more loyalty missions and stuff, there's a hidden counter that like that goes down, and more crewmates are just automatically going to die
Wow.
That's cool. I
in
never
the
knew that.
results of, yeah. It's like it's fascinating. My buddy Alex once again like showed me this graphic that explains all the decision paths that the suicide mission can lead to, and like that's one of those things is the more missions you do before, after installing the Reaper IFF and before going on suicide mission, the more missions you do, the more likely crew members are going to die, including Dr. Chakwas,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
which is like one of the bigger ones. um but yeah, and there's also the ship upgrades and stuff that you can do by talking to your crewmates. Once you recruit them, you can ask them like, hey, you got any suggestions on how to make the ship better? And there's 3 of them that are required in order to make sure crew members don't die.
Yeah. See, I was like, all right. So we'll talk about it later in gameplay, but I was like addicted to mining for stuff on planets. So I was like the Monopoly man with fucking space resources.
Yeah.
So I literally had like every upgrade, like everything, and I didn't know that until afterwards.
Okay.
So my suicide mission went very well.
Okay. So yeah, I guess let's jump into the suicide mission at this point. How did it go? Who died? Anyone?
No one.
Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody. Cool. We all we all got through scot free.
Which
Okay.
which I was like, wait, what? Because I know the first time I did it way back, somebody died. I don't remember who, but I know somebody died.
Well, I thought you didn't play. You thought you rage quit the game.
Yeah, but I played it later.
Oh, okay. See, I thought you hadn't actually beaten it. So
I was talking about the very first time.
Okay.
I mean,
Very
I
first
kind
one.
of like cheated though because I was going for the platinum, so I
Yeah.
knew what the requirements were going into it. But things get very dicey when you have to choose like who to like protect something and who to go in. Like you have to send like all the tanky characters to do one thing and like the weakest characters like Tali to like
Yeah.
do another thing. And that's like where most people would probably, if they're not going for like the platinum or whatever, would just lose
Well, so
characters.
initially, I wasn't looking at any resources. And they kind of make it obvious. Like one of the first decisions you have to make on suicide mission is, oh, we need someone to turn off these vents. or go through these vents or whatever to open like this door or whatever. And like obviously you want a technical person doing that, so your choices are limited to those characters.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious choice, Tally. So like without thinking about it, I sent Tally to do that, and like, what do you know? That was one of the correct choices to
Yeah,
make
I
there.
sent Kasumi. Yeah,
Yeah, Kasumi would have worked too. I think you also could have sent Legion.
I
You
just
know,
basically picked a logical choice for every time one of those came up. Like
well,
they they wanted you to like pick a team leader for a second team, and I was like, my boy Garrus, you got this. And
my thing is for one of those on my first going through of this, for the second time, for the one where you have to have a biotic specialist shield you,
yeah, I chose
and
Samara. Yeah,
I chose Samara at first,
Yeah.
and for the distraction team, I was like, well, why not? I'll have Jack do it. Like Jack
Mm.
is like, she could probably handle it. I get through to the end and she fucking dies.
Yeah, because she could have been, I think, one of the biotics.
Yeah, she could have been a biotic choice, but I didn't think any reason not to think she would be an effective leader of just like a diversion squad.
other
I
than the
thought she would
fact
be
that she's
fine.
the fuck off, leave me alone character.
But still, like but during that mission, like she said some things where she was like, "No, I can do this. I can lead or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll have her lead
Oh,
the squad."
they
She
got
wound
you.
she
They
wound
got
up
you.
dying. So yeah, I restarted the fucking mission. I restarted it completely
Yeah.
and did it all from the beginning. And yeah, I think I did choose Garrus at that point, and I chose Jack to be my biotic specialist because while I saw Samara do it, why not have Jack do it this time?
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, I got through just fine. And then every other decision I made after that was fine. I had Thane be the one to escort the other crew members back to the ship, and that was fine. I read after the fact that the more popular choice there is Morden,
Yeah, I chose Morden.
but I liked Morden, and since we were fighting collectors, they have armor, and Morden has the incendiary
Yeah.
abilities. I was like, okay, I want to keep Morden because I want to use him. I'm going to send Thane back. And I thought I got really nervous that was like because I looked it up before the full ending had played out, but after like all decisions were made and everything, and the trophy didn't pop for everyone surviving immediately. That one kind of
Mm.
waits to pop until
Yeah.
basically right before the credits roll, and I was
Yeah.
like, did I fuck up? Am I gonna have to reload a save? And then I wound up everyone survived and everything was fine. But yeah, I chose Thane to do that. Um, but yeah, ultimately on my second attempt, no one died. The first one, Jack died, unfortunately and unexpectedly.
Yeah. This is a really cool mission. I loved it.
It was a really cool mission. Let's talk about like the reason the collectors were collecting humans. They were building a human reaper.
Which looked really cool.
And really, yeah, but like the whole idea of it was so gross.
Yeah.
Like they're just like kind of like decomposing and like gooifying humans into like this human sludge to create a reaper from it. It was kind of like
Yeah, I really loved the suicide mission as a whole, and I loved that idea of basically they're grinding up humans for biomass to build
it
a
was like
Reaper.
it was like season 3 of Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Oh
kind of.
yeah.
Where yeah, you know what I'm talking. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Spoiler, but no.
Spoiler. Go watch Stranger Things.
Season
But
4 is great.
Yeah, it has been really. I'm still watching through it, but I'm really enjoying it.
but the only real gripe I had with the suicide mission is I felt like the gameplay mechanics didn't really serve that final boss well, given
Yeah,
its
not at
size.
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was still fun just because I liked the idea, the concept of the boss, but
I feel
I
like
was like getting annoyed.
I feel like it needed to have some sort of,
You need to
you know,
zoom out your camera first of all.
Yeah.
yeah, but also like some sort of gimmick behind it, where you get these opportunities to shoot very specific things, and certain events will play out and maybe expand the arena, and maybe even give you access to some weaponry that you could use against it, rather than just being the Mass Effect gameplay you've been doing this whole time, and having this very limited arena with very weird placement of cover and all of your normal abilities that just aren't very effective against this titanic being.
Yeah.
I agree completely with that as a final boss, that was the design of it, or like the appearance of it was really cool.
Mhm.
The actual design of the fight was kind of
Yeah,
lousy.
I agree.
um but yeah, the suicide mission. What a way to end the game. That was fantastic.
Yeah. High stakes.
Yeah, and it's clear why it's such a memorable bit. I think it's a shame that in hindsight, it's the whole game story is overshadowed by the loyalty missions and whatnot. Because I do think the suicide mission kind of makes it all worth it.
I will say though, and this isn't the suicide mission, but the actual ending of the game, after you finish the suicide mission,
Yeah.
felt really weird and abrupt.
Yeah, 'cause you basically see you're on the Normandy and you debrief with the elusive man. Did you guys like kind of? I think you could kind of be like fuck off similar
Yeah,
to
I
the
told him to
elusive
fuck
man.
off. Yeah,
I think I may have said something similar. I can't quite
I told
remember.
them to fuck off.
Yeah. But like yeah, it has like the Mass Effect theme playing while everyone's there like alive and and like looking at what resources they have left and everything, and you look and you see the Reapers are descending upon the galaxy and
yeah.
shit. Um,
And to be fair, because I'm pretty sure in the first game you weren't able to continue playing past the ending. Um, but in this one you can.
yeah, right.
So to be fair, like I think they kind of designed it to be that way because it's not. It may not technically be the end of your story in whatever
Hmm.
playthrough you're running.
Yeah, and plus there's something we need to get to that expands on that, and we'll talk about that shortly. Let's talk about now that we've very exhaustively and extensively covered the plot of this game. This is gonna be one of our longer episodes, guys.
And there's still so much more that happens,
Yeah, I know. Like
in
we only
between.
covered the characters and stuff primarily. Yeah, so let's get into some of the things that have kind of changed and evolved from the first game. Um, I think the biggest thing that I want to talk about is the progression of the game, because this is
Yes.
something that I'm kind of really critical of. In Mass Effect 1, it's very much an RPG.
Yeah, it's
You know,
D&D, roll the dice, classic BioWare.
but like in this, but like it's like when you kill an enemy you get experience points. When you level up you feel that level up.
Yeah,
The game kind of celebrates that level up, and you know that you have points that you can allocate.
and
In
you
this
also just have more
game,
control. Yeah,
yeah, in this game the structure has changed so much to be so much more like mission based. You embark on a mission, when you're done you get this screen with the elusive man staring out a window, and this like celebratory music that lists out all the things that you earned, and all it just gives you this seemingly arbitrary experience point number, and potentially tells you leveled up, you have this many skill points. It just doesn't feel as rewarding as like the first game did.
yeah,
It doesn't, to me it doesn't feel like it feels like the D&D structure has changed, or the RPG structure has changed, to put it in D&D terms, of like at the end of an encounter your DM will give you, you earned this much experience, keep track of that, whatever. And like this game is much more like, you just did a big encounter, congratulations, y'all leveled up, and
yeah,
just kind of like decides for you. It doesn't feel a celebratory
It,
in its progression.
yeah. It's weird with the changes. Generally speaking, in this game, it's with everything that I loved that changed. There was something that I hated, and that's one of those things.
Yeah.
And not just the nature of the progression, how you get the experience, the lack of real choice, the severe downgrade in terms of um, armor and weapons that you can acquire, where it almost feels
Well,
at points it gets boring. The arsenal,
that I liked, because if we remember back to Mass Effect 1, I could not stand how much inventory management you have to do in that game.
mhm.
Um to the point where you'll have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like useless pieces of gear that you just have to dismantle
Mhm.
and get rid of, either turn into Omnigel or sell them.
Yeah.
And it became more of a frustration than like a reward. And this game completely does away with that, and instead has like, you'll over time you'll get a new gun that you can then use on anyone that uses that gun. I also really liked how the classes really stick to your weapon proficiencies. So playing as an adept, I could use submachine guns and pistols, and that was it.
Mhm.
Until later in the game, you get to add on one additional weapon proficiency. I chose sniper rifles. I felt that would be the most added beneficial one. But like, and I liked that because it that felt made the RPG mechanics feel like my choice of who I was playing as mattered more. But I really liked not having to micromanage an inventory.
See,
And
again,
the
that's
upgrade system was pretty rudimentary, but it was still useful and good and well enough.
see that's again one of those things where it's like I love the fact that you don't have to deal with those inventory issues from the first game, but I hate the streamlined nature and there's no build diversity in this game. Like you said, it's pretty tied to what you choose at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's no way to really make a hybrid just for your own enjoyment of the game. You're basically stuck with what you chose. Um,
I I personally like the streamline because you could just like control characters that have different abilities. So I kind of didn't mind it too much because
hmm,
I wanted to like play with biotics. Just bring a biotics with me and like cast it or whatever.
right.
Yeah. And they kind of slimmed down the amount of abilities all your crewmates have at least, so they only have like 4 things you could level up. And
I will say the system for commanding the team, even though it's similar, it felt way more responsive, and the AI felt more responsive.
yeah, and sometimes some of the biotic abilities didn't work out as well as I would have liked. Like sometimes I'd go to use warp and it would just like go in a completely random direction instead of like the guy I thought I was targeting.
Mm-hmm.
um or like if I use a crewmate's warp, it'll just like automatically happen to that enemy, whereas if I use it, it's a projectile that has to have line of sight.
Yeah,
Sometimes it would hit a wall and that would be really frustrating, but like the recharge is so quick that it barely even matters. I do feel like that moment to moment combat was much improved in this game. It's just the progression system really bummed me out. It just like it never really felt like I was progressing. I would just like go to start a mission and I would suddenly realize, oh, I have 3 skill points to allocate.
Yeah.
Cool. Where did those
you
come
also
from? I have
you
no
also don't
idea.
really you also don't really feel the impact of it until later in the game, as
Yeah.
when you start reaching the ends of those bars, and especially after you unlock the I forget what the types of abilities are called after you do the loyalty missions. Each cast member gets like a special move.
Yeah, they get like an additional action. But like they're all different.
Yeah.
Um
So
yeah, I
basically,
forget I forget
it doesn't so much feel like you're getting progressively more powerful as it is. Okay, you invested all this stuff throughout the game. Now, in the last back quarter of the game, you feel much more powerful than you did at the beginning. It's weird.
Yeah. They largely went for a much more balanced action approach than a progressive RPG approach with this game. And it has both its benefits and its detriments. Um
Yeah.
I just the progression system is the thing that bothered me probably the most out of everything.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you want to hear more about like the gameplay of Mass Effect as a whole, go listen to our Mass Effect 1 episode. I don't we don't need to retread that ground. Just talk about the changes. I think
Yeah.
we pretty much covered all those change. Oh, the other big change besides just like the general structure of like how the story is told and the mission structure versus just like being given like a couple objectives and going to explore them in any way you want. Um Something I did like and did appreciate, and I know I definitely brought up in the first episode. Um, every side mission feels it feels unique
Hmm.
down to the map. The map is not the same for any side mission. They are completely different, completely freshly generated maps. Whereas in the first game, they reused the same map for
Yeah.
every cave system. They reused the same map for every, even sometimes planets. They reused the same like basic map structure and terrain.
Yeah.
um and like every ship had the exact same layout, and I just didn't like that. I couldn't stand
Mm-hmm.
that. This time they definitely toned back how many side missions there are, but they're all so much more unique and interesting that I
Yeah. It's
kind of didn't
definitely
mind it as much.
quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jason, you really liked scanning and mining resources?
Yeah, it was basically to me like fishing mini games in a lot of
Yeah.
like a lot of like fantasy RPGs, like because it's essentially like the same idea, the same dopamine rush you get from
But
finding the controller vibrating, and you send
but
it and
this
you get a big.
game but this game doesn't have shit on near replicants fishing. Let's
Oh my
get that
god.
straight. Let's get
True,
that straight.
true.
I just had to real quick give Delilah nightmares. Um but okay. I mean, I enjoyed it at first and then eventually it got old.
I
Did
never
you
liked it. I didn't care.
Yeah,
I just
I've
wanted to get on with the game at that point.
luckily within the first half I kind of got enough resources that I never really had to scan or mine again.
Yeah, you get
um
to that point.
yeah, so I kind of stopped. I would kind of just like look at a planet, scan it real quick to make sure it didn't have a side mission, and then I would just leave it and just to get the 100% up in the corner and
Yeah.
move on. um
I,
did you
I
guys
hate that they had like for the first game. What I hated was like the little side things where you're like finding like I don't know Asari writing and stuff like that. Like, and
yeah,
this is like a completionist thing more so than the game because it's all optional. But it's just they added extra things that I just felt like took away from the game and like ruined the flow. And I felt like the mining also did. But it seems
yeah.
like for like you, Jason, or maybe for others as well, like it actually was like a nice little cathartic break or like was satisfying in some weird way.
I tell you, it's better than driving around in the Mako.
That's very true.
I
Very
I
true.
liked I liked the Mako. I
The
didn't
only
think it was
thing
that
I
bad.
thought the Mako controlled really well, surprisingly, in the first game. Like it actually controls better than the Warthog in Halo. Like not to like throw any subs or
Yeah,
anything.
we did talk about
Well,
that.
I think they also fixed it up from the
They did.
original. Yeah,
Yeah, but and I did kind of miss like seeing the different planets. Like some of them had two moons, some of them were red. Like I don't know, that was kind of cool. And but at the end of the day, yeah, it was just busy work and it took a lot of time and it got really boring.
Yeah. Did you guys go to our solar system and go to Uranus?
Yeah.
no, I actually like spent almost no time at like. Oh, I only did what I had to for missions on like the Citadel, and I barely
If
spent any
you
time.
if you go to Uranus and you go to launch you can't land on it, but if you go to launch a probe, you know the computer that's always that is
Yes,
probe
yes,
launched. Yeah, you launch a probe on Uranus and it says, "Really, Commander?" And then you launch another one and it just like kind of says really defeated like, "Probing Uranus."
yeah. That's something we didn't talk about was Edie or Eden, whatever
We
the
talked a
AI's
little
name
bit
is.
about
But
ED.
if you talk with like if you go and talk with Joker on the Normandy like you would with the other characters,
Yeah.
it's basically like they always have a funny back and forth, and there's actually a bit of a character growth between like a relationship that forms between the two. It's interesting, and it
I
obviously builds up to that sequence we talked about where you control Joker and
and
she
and
guides you. Yeah,
and during that I really like the line where she's just like, "I really like watching humans on their hands and knees." And he's just like, and she's
yeah.
just like, that was a joke.
It
Yeah.
it was very well done comic relief. That's completely
Yeah.
optional, but it's well worth your time. Yeah.
Definitely worth your
Yeah.
time, absolutely.
Yeah, in the end, Edie was cool. I just wasn't really much to talk about with Edie. Oh, the other thing I guess that we didn't talk about was the some of the interactions that would happen between crewmates on the Normandy, like the fight between Miranda and Jack. And after if you get Legion and complete Legion's loyalty mission, there's a situation between Tally and Legion where Legion was trying to send something
Yeah.
and Tally thought that it was going to attempt to hack the flotilla.
Well, the thing with Miranda and Jack is actually part of. I mean, you have to do it either way, but it's part of the romance. Like the decision you make there affects if you're trying to romance them.
Yeah,
Actually, it doesn't. I don't
um,
think it affects Jack. I think it more affects Miranda.
probably not,
The
but
decision you make.
It's just
affects whether or not you can romance Miranda.
I feel like the game could have used more of those like kind of somewhat dynamic events that happen, because like, you know, you're not the only people, you know, you are the only person that you see talking to your crewmates, but you got to assume your crewmates are not just sitting there ignoring each other. They're probably
Yeah, it
interacting with each
does.
other too.
If there is a criticism, it does feel like there isn't as much exploration of the character dynamics as there is individual characters in those self-contained stories.
But
Yeah.
something I did mean to bring up when talking about all these crew members is contrast with, and I guess this is kind of part of the changes made from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, contrast to the first game, where you're never really forced to talk to your crewmates at all. You could like go the entire game without talking to them. I love how much this game kind of incentivizes and practically forces you to get to know everybody,
Yeah,
and in order to do their missions and explore their stories, you kind of need to communicate and talk to them, and I really really like that.
Yeah.
Because it lends much more to that, you know, that there's more personal singular stories rather than the whole overarching narrative. I really
and not
like
even
that.
just the party. There are side quests. There's one for Chakwas, Dr.
Yeah,
Chakwas,
getting her bottle of
Yeah.
brandy or whatever. Yeah,
Brandy. There's one for the chef, so he can cook good food.
which
Mm-hmm.
those
Yeah,
are pretty throwaway missions, but the one with Chakwas was cool because you can open the bottle together, and like you see a whole scene where they're
I
like sitting
think
there drinking and shooting the shit, which is great.
I think that actually affects her outcome in the suicide mission. I might be wrong about that,
Maybe, I don't
but
know.
whether or not you do that mission, I think affects whether or not she dies.
Could be, yeah. Any other side missions that stood out? A lot of them were kind of, you know, especially the ones where you scan planets. Some of them were kind of cool. They were a little different. Like the ones that where it didn't really involve combat were kind of neat.
A lot of them
Um,
involved like going around. You had to collect a bunch of different items for some random person, or maybe they needed like it was a sequence of things you had to do, and each time
yeah,
you unlocked another step. I didn't really
one
engage with too much of that. There was like one where you had to rescue some random person's daughter. I remember that was on Omega. There were a bunch of little things, but none of them really stood out in any way particularly.
one that I really liked was on the Citadel, where this one guy was accusing a Quarian of stealing his credit chip, and you had to kind of clear the Quarian's name, and like the one uh what's Citadel what's Citadel security
CSEC,
called again?
CSEC,
CSEC, thank
CSEC.
you. Citadel security, CSEC. I'm an idiot, Jesus Christ. um the one CSEC officer and the guy that's the accuser, they're like very clearly being like racist against the Quarian,
Yeah,
and like you have to go and find the credit shit, and you find it in a completely different shop, and you bring it back, or like you go and tell them like, yeah, it's at this store. Maybe next time you shouldn't be such a fucking asshole to just like immediately accuse this. And like the CSEC officer was still like being like, you didn't do it, but we're keeping a close eye on you. And it's like, why? They didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, leave them alone. And like I thought that was that was a standout mission for me, but otherwise most of them were kind of forgettable.
yeah.
um but yeah, Delilah, you got any standouts there?
You know, the Mass Effect 2 and 3 side missions are kind of melding at this point, so I don't want to say
Okay.
anything. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
One thing
Okay.
I did want to say though regarding gameplay is that these games shouldn't have insanity difficulty, and I know it was completely
Uh-huh.
optional for me to do that, but it doesn't add like some games like when you play harder difficulties, it adds to the experience, or I feel like it's the way the game's intended to be played. With this game, you're just basically like using cover more effectively, and like the enemies are tanks, and I just feel like it takes away from the game. So if you don't have to play
See,
insanity, don't.
Speaking of which, let me just say one thing on the cover. Whoever at BioWare decided making the sprint and the cover button the same button should never fucking be allowed to work on a video game ever again.
it's the same way with Gears of War, though. It's
Yeah,
it's
it is.
pretty. I
Yes,
would
and I
argue it's
hate
pretty
that
common. Oh, okay. I mean,
because you're
that's not
just
what bothers
sprinting.
me.
Well, I guess to be fair, obviously I was being hyperbolic, trying to be funny.
Yeah,
But to be
I know.
fair, I think it has more to do with the layout of the arenas where you're doing the combat,
Yeah,
because when you're trying to sprint, you'll run into like a plateau where it's on different elevation or something you didn't expect to be able to take cover behind, and you'll accidentally hit cover when you didn't mean to do that. You also have to hit the same button to leap over the cover, and you'll get into situations where you'll die just because you accidentally took cover, or you were trying to take cover but accidentally sprinted, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
very sticky.
I mean, I think my biggest issue with the cover system is just like switching from cover to cover. Like if there's two walls right next to each other and there's like a gap in between, going from one wall switching to the other, you kind of have to detach, move over, and then reattach, rather than like something like Uncharted where it's very intuitive and very smooth, and you're still kind of in like an invulnerability phase. It's just it does feel very clunky, and um yeah, when it comes to difficulty, I feel like it's such a common trapping for harder difficulties where they just make you weaker, make enemies stronger, and
Yeah,
that's not the sign of a good
and
difficulty,
it's
you know?
it's hard it's hard to do difficulty with these games, this series in particular, because the gameplay is almost secondary to
Yeah,
the story and the choices you're making.
yeah.
It's
What I
almost
think
like
they
there's a shooting gallery to break up a story beat. That's
Hmm.
how it feels sometimes.
Yeah,
what I think could have worked was like maybe in lower difficulties, give more skill points. So like maybe on normal you can actually fully max out every skill, but on the harder difficulties, cut that in half so every skill point matters so much more. And like maybe you can only apply skill points to max out two skills and the other ones basically are never used. Kind of make those decisions matter a little more rather than just buffing enemy health and
yeah,
lowering your damage output, you know?
yeah,
But it's so much easier to just do that than it is to think from a design perspective, what can we alter to make it more challenging without just doing the obvious.
yeah,
Right.
Like I think of something like Resident Evil 7 where the hardest difficulty in that game completely changed enemy layouts. And obviously you can't really do that with this game. The same doesn't really apply. But like I mean, God of War did that though. God of War 2018 on the hardest difficulty switched enemy encounters. So sometimes where you would have had an encounter on normal difficulty, there's no encounter there, or it's completely different enemy types. To just kind of like switch things up on the player, and give difficulty and more of what the player is expecting rather than just changing some numbers.
yeah. I'm just like saying that for people like if like I think playing on insanity actually takes away from the game more than
Yeah,
anything.
Mm.
I mean, I could see it. I could totally see it.
Yeah.
It's a shame that I'm gonna have to do it one day for the trophies.
Yeah, it's too bad it doesn't give you a fourth platinum.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's close this out with the DLC. Some of this we can just plow right through. Some of it we're gonna have
Yeah.
to talk through a little more. So the first one we can just talk kind of shrug off. Normandy crash site where
It's
you
there for
just
nostalgia, yeah.
yeah, it was kind of cheesy. It was quick. It was painless. I didn't even realize it was DLC when I did it. I did it. It was one of the first things I did, and I thought it was just a side mission to do.
Right.
Turns out it was a DLC. Who would have thunk? The Firewalker thing was a little more interesting. It was kind of like a replacement Mako. Um,
Yeah.
had like some more interesting gameplay segments where you had to like mine certain resources and shit. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Nothing special or too interesting plot wise.
Yeah.
But here's where we start getting interesting. The
Mhm.
Overlord DLC with the Rogue VI. What did you guys think of that?
I, for a significant chunk of that, I was like, oh god, another AI story. And then the twist. And then I was like, this might be one of the best pieces of story in the fucking game. In terms of
Wow.
in terms of just like a small little episode.
And so this was where the one guy was using his brother to kind of interact with this VI, and he kind of got assimilated by it, right?
Yeah, so his brother
That's
is
essentially what
basically
happened.
he's basically like a genius savant, but he has he's basically, I don't know if you would consider it like on the spectrum, but he's almost like Rain Man. Like
Right. He's like
he's
very good with numbers.
yeah, he's like a mathematical genius,
Yeah.
but is like he can't interact really with people socially, and basically his brother just abuses him and turns him into this computer, this human computer,
Yeah.
It was
and
really, really sad to see him like
exactly it
that.
was yeah
And it was like it was painful to see him. Like when you inevitably do see him, it was a
yeah.
very very tough thing to look at. They got like tubes sticking into his face and everything. It was rough.
But like it, when you start getting to the point where you're seeing the hollow projections of everything that happened and his brother before he became a machine, like, and you
Yeah.
start to realize what is actually going on, that's where like everything clicks and it turns on. I'm like, holy shit, this is really good.
Yeah, and I did think that was cool, that segment where you see everything like through like kind of like a different sight. Um, it was a very cool way of kind of unraveling that story until you reach the culmination of it. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was cool. Um, Next up we got Lair of the Shadow Broker, which does involve Liara. Like I said, Liara is just she's just on Ilium. You can go to interact with her without this DLC, but like she's involved with this DLC pretty heavily, obviously. What did you guys think of this?
I didn't particularly. I liked the story of the DLC. I
Yeah,
didn't particularly like when you eventually do go to the layer of the Shadow Broker and his like ship. You locate it and you have to fight your way on top of it. I didn't like the design of those arenas. It really annoyed me.
going
The
out
way,
on the ship and whatnot.
yeah, the way it's like angled, so like you can't see stuff coming, and it's hard to take. It's weird. It's hard to explain. I did not like the design of that, but everything else, including the boss fight, I enjoyed.
Delaila, do you have any
And the
thoughts?
stuff that comes after with Liara, that you get.
Is that the
Yeah,
one where you had to fight that really like big enemy at the end
Yes,
in like a lair almost kind of?
yeah, and
yeah,
then
and you had to
Liara.
like
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
lure. No, you had to like lure it into certain spots, and Liara would do like a thing to hurt it. Right? Am I remembering that fight
Well,
correctly?
you can do that, or you could just do what I did and blast him down with heavy
Oh,
weapons. Yeah,
so anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I just started blasting. Got it.
but yeah, Liara ends up becoming the Shadow Broker.
Yeah,
Um,
which I thought was
yeah,
a pretty cool note to end on. You know, is the Shadow Broker's dead. No one else has seen him, so she just kind of assimilates his position, and everything goes on. She now has access to this wealth of information. I thought that was a really cool
and it also
way to
unlocks
wrap that
essentially
up.
like a secondary hub for
Yeah,
you
that's
where
what I
you
Yeah,
was
can
thinking.
get additional equipment. You can also do like intel missions. You can spend money to hire people to like fuck with other people in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
oh, really? I don't
Yeah,
think I saw that. I did like the thing. I think that was where you could.
it's completely menu based. So like
Okay,
you don't
okay.
really see any tangible outcome other than the resources you get back from it. But
I I think that layer was where you could read up like additional
Yep.
dossiers on all your crewmates. The only one that I read and probably the most entertaining of all was reading Miranda's dating profile logs that she like
yeah,
conversations she had with people on like a dating website.
you can also
I
go into that circle thing and look at all the cameras and watch like all
yeah,
your crewmates. Yeah,
which like it was very eerie, but it was really cool. Like it just like totally didn't expect that and thought it was really neat that they handled that with her character. Her character had largely evolved a lot from how she was in Mass Effect
hmm
1, where
Yeah.
now she's very but before she was just like very scientific, very cordial, and now she's like she's an information broker and
she's a player again in the underworld. Like it's kind
right.
of like
It's like
the running theme of the game.
and a very unexpected character to be doing that, and I thought like I think she's a pretty natural, surprisingly a pretty natural fit for it.
And if
um
you continue with the dialogue options with her, as I did, you can also invite her to have a date on the Normandy,
Yeah, I
which
did have. I did have a talk with her in Shepard's cabin, but like it didn't culminate in sex or anything. Because at that point, I'd already
yeah,
decided I wanted the romance tally, and I didn't
I
want
don't
anything to jeopardize that.
I forget if I'm pretty sure you can have it
You can.
go. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can have it go to a romance. Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, I wasn't able to. I don't know if you have to wait till the end, but I was pretty sad about that
probably because you
because,
didn't bang her in the first game,
I
you
think that has something to
monster.
do with it. Yeah.
but she has the boyfriend in this game. Well, it's kind of like implied that there's somewhat of a
Yeah,
relationship there. It's weird.
yeah. Um, and then the last DLC, Arrival, which my understanding is that this is basically the bridge between Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3. And like you have like you have the one what's her name, Amanda something, I think. I
Yeah,
can't remember already, even though I
it
did this
it
like
will
a week
change.
ago.
The Arrival one is kind of interesting because it changes a little bit depending on when you play it. So if you play it before you finish the
Oh
suicide
yeah.
mission, it changes a little bit.
Okay. How, like, did you do it before Suicide Mission, or
Yes. So
so
in
what?
my original run, I did it after, and basically, it's not terribly different. It's mainly just the ending. Instead of talking with a Reaper, if you do it beforehand, you talk with a Collector.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. But yeah, it's like my understanding, it's like a gap bridger between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. It came out like right before Mass Effect 3 did, I think, and um
Yeah.
kind of acted as like a prelude almost to the beginning of Mass Effect 3, which I don't know what
Yeah.
happens at the beginning of Mass
So
Effect 3.
it's hard to talk about this one because lore wise,
So maybe
it
why don't we
you almost can't talk about it without talking about Mass Effect 3 because it creates
maybe
it's
so maybe we
controversial. I'll just say that.
maybe
Why
we
don't?
table the Arrival discussion until the Mass Effect 3 episode.
Can I uh propose that you talk about it only right now, and
Me?
then we'll all
Okay.
talk about it.
Oh, Mark. Okay.
Yeah,
So I
just because
guess
he hasn't
okay,
played three.
so my I guess my like from what I gathered, my perception of that DLC, which like it was surprisingly a lot harder than like anything else in the base game or anything else in the game entirely.
Yes.
Like I guess, and it's because it's a solo mission. Like none of your crewmates are with you, so like you are doing everything, and everyone
And
is
you get a
pointing
lot
and
of those
shooting at you. Oh
flamethrower
my god.
enemies. Yeah,
Yeah, the pyros that just like if you get caught in a flame, like
that's
you
it.
might as well just drop the controller because you're dead. It's like
Mhm.
what the fuck, man? That drove me nuts. But yeah, like that was a really hard mission and it was really interesting. I like you kind of get baited into this seeing this Reaper artifact and like you're captured and like I guess that crew was kind of assimilated and indoctrinated to follow the Reapers and I guess kill you or capture you or whatever, and you ultimately like completely destroy this like entire system. I think it was like mostly a Batarian system, and you
Yes,
kill all these people. And like
fuck
my
Batarians.
my expectation is now Mass Effect 3 is going to open up on Earth with you being tried for wiping out that whole system. That's what I'm kind of expecting now. Don't confirm or deny that. That's just what I'm going to say I'm expecting
Well,
This
now
is
as
great.
someone that knows
well,
nothing.
the important thing is that is how. So, how did you destroy the system?
I had the ship collide with the Alpha Relay.
Okay, so the what I'm trying to get at out of you is you destroyed a Mass Effect relay.
Yes, I destroyed the Alpha Relay. I had the
Okay,
ship
and
collide with it.
that destroyed an entire system. This
Yes.
of like Batarians. Okay,
Yes, and it was it was because, I'm trying to
our
prevent
our
the
next
Reapers from getting there faster, but
I'm
it
trying to
wound
end
up
on a cliffhanger, folks, for our next episode.
oh man.
Don't worry.
Delilah, at the before he said that, did I hear you say this is great after I finished like talking a bunch of shit or
Yeah,
saying a bunch of shit? Great.
yeah.
Fuck.
I'm glad that I
Uh
proposed that. That's all I got to say.
so I was like, yes. you're that sickos meme of the guy at the window. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that basically covers Mass Effect 2. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about before we wrap this bad boy up?
Garrus's romance was really awkward, and it was freaking hysterical.
Oh, did you romance Garrus? I didn't even ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should have. We were too focused on
Oh,
my
So like,
Playboy sensibilities.
your sex-capades.
Yeah,
yeah, he
Oh
was
my
just like
god.
really awkward. Like, oh, like I gotta figure out, like, it kind of like Tally a little bit. Like, I gotta figure out like how humans and us can like, but I'll make it happen. And then he like gives you flowers and like dances really awkwardly, and it like doesn't look like good. It's really good.
Oh.
It's really good.
When I go and do my insanity playthrough as a female renegade, I am so gonna romance Garrus. I'm so
Hell yeah,
excited about this now.
yeah.
I did think the romance scene, like, it was very abrupt. I feel like they took the controversy surrounding Mass Effect 1 to heart a lot. At least for Tally, that you really don't see anything. Like, it is very, she like pushes you onto the bed, gets on top of you, and then it's like it fades to black.
which I didn't like that because the whole like build up to that was her finding a way to like be able to take off the suit, and you like
And you don't really
become
see
one.
the culmination of that. Yeah.
I wanted the reveal of what she actually looks like underneath it. That would have like
Yeah.
made it kind of more
And
impactful.
I think I actually do know that like you do get to see that in Mass Effect 3 in some capacity.
I don't know what you're
Um
talking about, man.
okay. Well, there we go. Um yeah, all right, whatever. I guess I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I'll bleep it out. I'll think about it when I go to edit.
Did you just
Anyway.
spoil the game without having played it? Come on, Mark.
All right, anything else we want to say before we wrap up?
Great game, man.
All right.
So
Yeah, really great game. Oh,
the,
Kwasnicki rating. Yeah, let's
yeah,
go. Let's
the
do it.
official Kwasnicki rating. I give this game a fuck it. I'll just give it a 8 out of 10. An
What?
eight out of 10 Omnigel packs. It because
8
despite
out of 10 are the thing that aren't in the game.
despite my frustrations with like the actual, it's so weird because normally I'd be like thinking, well, yeah, I really liked the story, I enjoyed it, despite minor flaws I have with that. It does have. My main hiccups would or hangups would all be with the actual gameplay,
Yeah,
but I just really almost don't care because for
Yeah.
me these games are not about the gameplay. It's basically like a shooting gallery, and it's competent. It does what it needs to do
agreed.
to get you from point to beat. And in a way, the actual role playing to be found in the majority of these games, the choices that you make, that's kind of to me the real game. And I think we barely said anything negative about this game.
It has some of the
Like
best storytelling ever, like of all video games, in my opinion.
it
Yeah, I
really
mean,
is like watching a season of like Star Trek back in the day, which is what it was meant to be in its inception. Like
you think about we've gone on for like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and like most of that was talking about the story and the characters and the writing, and like, yeah, that's kind of why we barely said anything bad, because all that stuff is really fucking good.
It's so good.
But like if and we skipped the things that were kind of bad because, well, we kind of talked about them before, and they've been iterated on, they've been changed here and there, but like overall they
and
haven't,
when you think about
they're
it, there's
fundamentally the
very
same.
when you think about it, there's very little actual combat in this game.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, there isn't much, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
It is much more talking and conversing and navigating
which I think is
than
ultimately a
anything.
good thing. Like,
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Um, okay. I don't remember what you gave Mass Effect 1.
neither do I. I should have watched that video before we talked
Yeah,
about this.
I started listening back to it before, but I didn't get to finish it before we
But
recorded. So
that's the story with every episode. I don't go back and
yeah,
whenever we do something with a sequel, I forget to listen. So I might have rated it
in
higher.
in time
I might have said it was better, but then rated it lower. Who knows? It's the Kwasnicki rating. Okay, it's
in
fully
time for Mass
objective.
Effect in time for Mass Effect 3, I will have listened back and I'll make note of Jason's scores, to see
Cool.
how the whole trilogy averages out. Um, okay, Delilah, what are you doing? What are you working on?
I just finished GTA San Andreas on Twitch, and
Okay.
thus concluding my entire trilogy, the definitive edition. Um, and I'm gonna be streaming like random shit on twitch.tv/Assassina. And I'm reacting to all of the summer showcases on YouTube. So
Nice. There you go.
yeah,
There you go. Maybe, perhaps, a bonus episode is in our and your future.
yeah. If there's things worth talking about, I think we'll
Yeah.
do one.
I mean, if like Elden Ring 2 gets announced, like that's not worth talking about. Like we can skip it, but if like something else gets announced,
What's the name?
we'll
In,
talk.
since you were playing San Andreas, what's the name of the big guy with the glasses again?
Smoke.
Smoke. Yeah.
Smoke.
Oh, best. I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler. Smoke's best guy, best one of the best characters ever.
5 number 9s, 2 number
Yeah,
3s,
You're
yeah.
7
gonna
number
you,
45s.
Yo, San Andreas, man, that's PS2 days. That takes you back.
Yeah.
oh
Oh,
shit! Here we go again.
takes you back,
Um.
back in the day.
All right, so go follow Delaila on the streams and the Twitters and shit.
Thank you.
What am I? What am I fucking doing? Oh yeah, I write a newsletter for From Gamers Magazine. Every Friday hits your inbox. You can go to fromgamers.net/newsletter to sign up for that. I've been changing it up a little bit recently. This last one, it wasn't just like my top 5 news stories. It was like a few news stories, kind of more concise. And I actually wrote a mini review for Mass Effect 2. So
Nice.
since I had just beaten it at the time that I wrote that. So yeah, changing things up with a showcase season coming up. You know, non E3, but still kind of like the same spirit. Probably be talking a lot about the announcements and how everything goes. So go
Yeah.
subscribe to that. Check it out. I have fun doing it. And then Jason, you doing anything? You
No,
want to plug?
I am nowhere and everywhere at once. I may or may not be the real world shadow broker. Who knows?
Oh God. Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at Nibelheimian. You can follow Delilah on Twitter at Assassina_San. You can follow Jason on Twitter at SolidQuas, but don't follow him. He doesn't do anything. He forgets he
Did
has
they
a Twitter
ever?
account.
Does it ever just expire if you don't do anything on it?
No, I think that shit will last forever until you get rid of it. It is just like forever immortalized. Um You can follow Dead Cell Media on Twitter at Dead Cell Media. I always forget about that. We have a Facebook group too. You can go join that. Dead Cell Media. Just find, search it. You'll find it. I'm
And if
sure.
you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe as
Yes.
everybody ends the videos on. Leave those comments. We love to read it. We love to interact with you guys. We love the
Yes.
hate and the love you give us.
Doing more of that too. Been interacting with people in the comments of the video versions of the show. So like yeah, if you watch on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, yell at us about our not knowing what an Ardat Yakshi is, you know.
Quisak
We didn't we
Haderach.
didn't we didn't dig enough into the lore. How dare we cover this game without learning what an Ardat Yakshi is? For shame.
Bro, you
If
didn't
you
read the novels, man.
if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the show. 5 stars preferred. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. It really, really helps. It not only does it help visibility for the show and for the show to grow and spread, it also just helps me feel better that
It helps
people
our
are enjoying a
egos. It
thing that
makes us
we're
feel
yeah,
better about ourselves on a daily
exactly.
basis.
Exactly. So please, please, please rate and review. 5 stars preferred. Let us know. Share the show with your parents, with your kids, with your pets, with your friends. I can't believe friends is the last one I said there. Good lord. And yeah, that's basically all I got. And the next video game that we're covering is what, Delilah?
Mass Effect 3.
Mass Effect 3. We're finishing the trilogy. We are
Oh,
just gonna
and
roll right through it.
what a conversation it's going to be.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this one, guys. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll see you next month, either with Mass Effect 3 or a bonus episode. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what happens, but look forward to Mass Effect 3. That's coming out in the future. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye bye now.